What's going on, guys? We're here. We're live. Welcome to a brand new Poker Live podcast. My name's Joey Grimmon, aka Chicago Joey. Thank you for tuning in today. Today is a special, an ode, you might say, to European tank tops, as I decided to rock my European tank top, and Dan is sort of rocking a European tank top of European kind of color, which you have to talk to see him, but now you can kind of see it over there. But before we get started, guys, I want to tell you kind of what we have coming up here on the podcast. And showing the tank top now. I mean, it's kind of European. It looks a little Euro. But yeah, we got a bunch of guys lined up for the podcast. This Thursday, we're going to have the world's most popular poker player, aka the negotiator, aka William Kassouf, will be on the podcast, back on, talk some speech play, GTO. Friday, I'm going to have a man named Randy Bloomer on. Randy founded the first real money poker site in the history of online poker, Planet Poker, back in 1998. I cannot wait to talk to this guy. It's going to be one of the most epic pods of all time. Next week, we're going to have high stakes Nolan and Hold'em player on PokerStars right now, a guy named Limitless. He plays 2550. He actually went from starting poker in 2014 to playing the highest stakes No Limit online right now on PokerStars, and no one said it can be done. He went there and he did it in about 2 years. He'll be on the podcast as well. We're also going to have Kevin Martin, Kate Hall, and I don't know, man. A team Phil Perkins for the PCA, a couple of the package winners as well. We got a lot of people lined up, obviously, and I got to give a quick shout out to one of the guys who my coach said I have to find some people that are interested in doing some sort of sponsorship ads for the podcast. We got I'm a Whale Staking. We read for him before. If you're in the United States, you're trying to play online poker for a living, you're tired of working at Subway, you're tired of working at McDonald's, you're tired of sleeping on your mom's couch, go check them out, imawhale.com. They do staking, they do coaching for American players, and that's it. Let's get into the podcast. Joining me today is a young man who is out of line. He has done a charity drive this year. Right now, they raised $800,000. I don't fucking know how that's possible, but he's back at it again. He's been playing the high stakes DFS, playing high stakes poker, tournaments, cash games. Who knows what else he's been up to, man. We got my buddy Dan Smith in the house. What's going on, Dan? Welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while. I'm excited.
Man, whew. I was expecting a little more energy out of that. Let me try that again. Welcome to the podcast, Dan.
I'm ready, Poppy.
All right, man. I like that. Dan, so it's been a while since you've been on. I got to ask you, what's up with this charity drive, man? How are we at $800,000 allegedly right now? How's this possible, man?
It really exceeded all my expectations. I've just had a few guys that came in trying to... I got the window open over here. I got to mute it. Really?
Uh-oh.
So just a few really big donators came in. Big Papa Gates, one of the top couple of DFS guys in the world, he reached out and he donated $325,000 trying to match it. I had another person who, not in the poker world at all, just through like a retweet of someone, got into his line of vision, and he was like, you know what, this is really cool. I'll donate $125,000 to Against Malaria if you find somebody to match it. A ton of donations have coming in, as small as like $5. Maybe a little over 100 separate people donating right now. It's really taken off and way exceeded my expectations.
So how much are you personally putting up here, Dan? Because is it 150, 175? How much are you?
175.
You're putting up 175, right?
Yeah.
How much money you got, man? How you do? How like? What do you mean? Is this like a pure tax? I don't understand. I'm at like $175,000. That's a lot of fucking money to give away, Dan.
I mean, no doubt, it's a ton of money. I was really on the fence about how much I wanted to donate. And a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, I was playing some DFS. It was when the Colts tight end was out, and Jack Doyle was like, on Wednesday, I was just like, man, I'm not going to play this Jack Doyle idiot. And then by Saturday, I had him in 100K worth of lineups.
Okay.
I was just thinking about it like, man, I am playing this dude who I had literally never heard of in $100,000 of contest. How crazy is that? And I was just like, and I'm not even diversifying. Like, it's 100K that I could really afford to lose. And it's just like, you know what? I think I want to do a drive. I want it to be big enough that I would feel it. And if I am prepared to gamble $100K on a weekend on some guy I had literally never heard of before, I thought the amount that I should donate should be a little bit bigger. I was also just kind of hoping to make a splash and encourage a lot more people to get into charity that otherwise might not have. And I kind of like the idea of having it sting. And also, I was fortunate enough to have a big year this year. The way taxes work, if you're winning, it makes a lot more sense to donate. Who knows what next year's going to bring? And with some of the tax changes, I thought this year was a particularly good time to do a project like this.
All right, so kind of explain to a lot of people out there, because a lot of people that watch this back on YouTube, Dan, or watch this in the chat or watching it live right now, shout out to everybody watching it live, they don't quite exactly, you know, they might not ever have donated $175,000 to a charity before. They might not know how exactly that works for tax reasons. So why don't you explain it a little bit to some of those guys out there in the chat who haven't had the privilege to be able to do something like that before?
Okay, first, real quick, I chose 8 different charities. Oh, actually, I chose 9 different charities to get started, and somehow one of them immediately found out. It was really wild that they actually reached out to be like, "Hey, it's cool what you're doing. We don't need the funding right now."
Bang bang.
And I was just like, okay. So I limited it to 8 charities. I tried to do a handful of like the most effective charities. GiveWell, I think, is the top charity evaluators. That's what they do as like a full-time gig. I chose 3 of their top 5. I chose Against Malaria, Give Directly, and SCI, which is deworming. I chose 2 bail funds. I spoke at this last year on the pod, but quickly, if you were to get arrested, bail is $400. If you don't have $400 bail, you sit in jail until your trial comes up. It might be a week before you get in front of a judge. In that time, you could lose your housing. Your kids might not be able to go to school. Your job, like it could totally fuck up your life. And you haven't even.
I remember this discussion very well.
Yeah,
I remember this one very well. Some of the people in this chat were saying, "Fuck the criminals, man. They get in trouble, let them sit in jail." I remember this conversation well.
Well, I would like to engage some people in the chat. I think it's pretty easy to be moral when everything's going well for you. I think it's kind of interesting. Like I had a couple people who were close to me this year who wronged me, not even for particularly big amounts of money, but it's like the principle of it. But in their shoes, if it's like, man, this guy hasn't been winning at poker in so long, he's struggling to put food on the table. I'm not saying I understand that I'm okay with what he did, but I'm not going to pretend that like I can relate to a situation, you know? I think a lot of laws in the US are pretty unjust, and the way the system is, I think it's pretty unfair. And I also just don't think generally the idea that you should be judged for the worst moment of your life is really appropriate, you know? Like, think about like when you were the most heated, you could have been, maybe you're not sober, you're having a really rough night, maybe a girl breaks your heart, you lost your bankroll, whatever. In that time, like, there are various, you know, if you just have a mistake in that moment, it's the idea that your whole life is torched. And I don't have a better idea for a system. Like, I don't know how the legal system should work. But my heart goes out for people who are in a rough situation and there might have like no dream of how they could get out of it, you know? If people,
what question you answering right now?
Oh, people are saying,
what question you answering right now, Dan? I'm curious.
You were saying, why would I give money to people?
That's what they said last year, Dan. This year, they're on board. 2016. No, that was 2015, Dan. 2016, they say, let's support the criminals, Dan. They're fired up in the chat right now.
Well, then I apologize for not giving everyone enough credit and not realizing that 2016 was the year of enlightenment.
This is a new year. This is a new Trump's president, gonna be president. It's a new. We got Kate Hall and Mike Dentale feuding on Twitter. It's a new year, Dan. People have changed.
Yeah.
Dan,
Okay.
okay, let me go back to the original question, the tax thing, right? How does this affect the taxes?
Sorry. It is not as glorious as some people seem to make it out to be. My 175,000, I'm gonna get a 23% discount on my taxes. So 0.23 times 175,000, I get 40,000 off of the donation. So I'm gonna effectively pay like 130K in taxes. I'm gonna pay 130,000 to raise 175. That's like my out of pocket thing. I think some people seem to think that it's like, oh, I'm donating this 175, but I'm making out like a bandit on the side. It's not really the case, you know?
Okay, good. That's what I was wondering, because some people say, oh, he's donating 170. That means he doesn't have to pay this. That means they're giving him more money or something like that. I think a lot of people out there, like I said, they haven't been in the spot in their life to donate 175,000 or anything. Maybe they don't know. I mean, you know, maybe a lot of us haven't been in that spot, Dan. A lot of us haven't had that happen to us before. So I think it's kind of an interesting question that a lot of people have out there. And yes, you mentioned that you're at what, 800,000 now? So you said 800,000. You said Big Papa Gates, DFS most hated player, matched for $300,000 with all the money.
Most hated player.
He's the most hated. Trust Dan. I do the DFS Sunday night show. He is the most hated player in daily fantasy sports. Him and his brother. They're the most hated people in DFS right now, according to.
Is it because they both won the million?
Well, I think it's because they allege. I listen. I don't know the specifics. So you got to ask the fucking Roto Grinders chat forum guys on there, the police on there. But they enter same lineups. They enter all the same lineups and everything. They sometimes play three mans with the same lineups. They do all this other stuff that people seem to have an issue with. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. They seem like they're definitely not the most well liked guys in DFS right now amongst the people that I interact with on Twitter, DFS Twitter, and on the Roto Grinders chat.
I'm under the impression, no disrespect to Roto Grinders, but their forum is like worse than NVG in terms of like.
Listen, I didn't say we had winning players in the fucking chat, Dan. I just said we got people coming in the chat. Okay, I don't know.
Okay, well,
I don't know if these guys are winning. These are good players or not. I just know what they say in the chat, and that's sort of my exposure to what's happening with a lot of the DFS incidents or whatever's been going down these days.
He reached out to me, and I was familiar with some of those things. I'm good boys with Aaron and Asani. They are both some big DFS players. They would certainly not be ones to sugarcoat it, and they both were saying that the allegations were without merit. I was under the impression the biggest issue was that they were both entering 150 lineups in the Millionaire Maker. And when you consider it's like 100,000 or 150,000, however many people enter it, whether they enter it 150 or 300 times at the end of the day, just doesn't make a difference. And taking a step back, the fact that he's donating $325K to charity, I would be inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt, you know?
Listen, Dan, these guys aren't thinking logically over there in the chat, man. Shout out to all. They come out every Sunday night. I got to give them a shout out, but these aren't the most logical thinkers in the entire world. So I can, I get where they're coming from on the situation, but yeah, I mean, obviously he's putting up a lot of money for charity. I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's, I've been learning about charity as the podcast experience has been going on for myself. Since I started doing the podcast, we had people come on the pod, talk about reg, talk about donating. I've definitely tried learning more about how everything works and why charity is important. And yeah, man, I think that I'm coming around on charity a little bit more, Dan. I definitely think that it's, I think it's a good thing if people are willing to donate their time or their money or hours of their life to helping other people out.
I just looked it up. Give Directly says that in Kenya, I forget if it's the average person or average family, but they're living on 65 cents a day. I just spent $12 to get a new Ethernet cable delivered in like a timely manner, you know? And for some people, that'd be 2 weeks. I think when you consider how much more use for money that someone else might have for it than you, for me, I think it becomes kind of clearly like the right thing to do when I have this money that I don't especially have a need for, when I could make a huge impact on other people's lives. 65 cents a day they're living on, man.
I mean, it's It's crazy stuff. I mean, I guess, what some people say is, I don't really want to get into a big back and forth on the idea of charity. Then some people will say, why don't you donate to the less fortunate that are in America? Why don't you donate to the police officers? Or why don't you donate to a lot of these towns that are run down and, a lot of people there don't have money and all that sort of thing.
Want to debate this? Because I am prepared to debate this.
Listen, I don't, that's just what I hear. I don't got a strong issue either way, man.
If you speak to someone who's saying what they hear, the reason that these are often chosen in like the third world is that money just goes a lot further, Like the argument is like a human life is a human life. And if the money can go a lot further, that might make sense. And just for the record, I didn't donate my money as all to be as like efficient as possible. I did some of it for a little bit more of like a fuzzy, warm, good feeling. I donated to MAPS, which is studying psychedelics. They believe that it could be MDMA could be used to have a really good effect on PTSD. One of the charities is like prison and yoga. So I tried to do a combination of like really.
Wait, you said Lucky Chewy's got a charity? What's his charity called?
It's not the Lucky Chewy charity, but it's Liberation Prison Yoga. And they're doing yoga and meditation in prisons. I just think it could reduce a lot of suffering, and it seems like it wouldn't cost that much money to set up some yoga classes in these studios. And if you could put people in a much better state of mind, who knows if that can make a difference,
I like it, man. I like it, buddy. So wait, you're at 800,000 right now. The goal is to get to that 1 million mark. Is that what the goal? What's the?
Now the goal is 1 million. It has a nice ring to it. I mean, yeah, the goal is 1 million. I would need to raise another 100K over the next 4 days. I'm liking our chances, but I'm also considering that maybe everyone who is considering donating has already donated, But I'm hopeful.
I like it, man.
I think people on your charity, I'm probably going to win. On your podcast, I'm going to win them all over, and the donation is going to start flowing in afterwards, right?
Listen, guys, if anyone out there has some money they'd like to donate, where can they get in touch, Dan? Where can they go? They got a website. What's the?
DanSmithHolla.com. There's information. You donate to either SCI Against Malaria or Give Directly, and you email receiptsforcharity@gmail.com, and then Big Papa Gates will be matching it.
Okay, so DanSmithHolla.com.
Yep.
And then
receipts for charity at gmail.com. All the instructions are on the website.
Perfect, man. Listen, if you guys go donate right now, you'll get a custom photo of me and Dan only in our tank tops from EDC this year. And man, we're literally only in our tank tops in this picture. This will be people who donate from the Poker Live podcast. And when you send that email, also mention that you're interested in getting that custom picture of me and Dan. So, and yeah, it was a pretty crazy time. So I'm gonna have to. I haven't looked at those pictures, Dan, but I'm a little bit worried. So,
here, dude,
you remember that? You remember the summer back in the summertime here?
Yeah, it was a wild few days, man. I partied all day Friday. Woke up at like 6 p.m. I played 100, 200 until like 4 a.m. Got a call that I could get into the 600, 1200 game at the Aria, which then got kicked to the 1K, 2K game. I played that. That's when you stopped by. This true teller just stacked me in a 200 and like a 250K pot when I had fucking boat versus quads. So I apologize for being cranky, but I was
Hey, listen. So let me tell this story, guys. So there is a time in the summer, I'm always at the Aria. There's always people getting out of line at the Circle Bar. We're always drinking until like 3 or 4 a.m. So I walk over to the poker room in there, and I see Dan in the poker room. I see Ike in there, True Teller. I see some like Korean looking pop star, and they're playing like 4 or 5 handed. And I'm a little out of line right now. It's late. I had a couple of drinks. I might be. Whatever. So I go in there, I say, what's up to Dan? And then all I know is Dan's calling for more money, like $100,000. And I don't think he was feeling too happy that time. And he sent me a text after. He's like, man. I was like, okay. Yeah.
I'm steaming here. I can't be social right now. True Teller, I mean, I was like the only person he won money from this summer. He got torched pretty good, but against me, I just didn't win a pot against him.
Who else was in that game? It was like four. It was four strong players, and then a Korean-looking pop star with the entourage in there.
Chairman's son, whose name is King. King was also wearing the most extravagant ring I've ever seen a male wear. It was. I haven't got the slightest guess what it was, but it was some serious bling. It was him, Ike, me, True Teller, Ben Lamb, and Vivek.
Yep, that sounds like a pretty solid game to play. It was like 3 or 4 a.m. too. It was pretty late. You were in the tank top still. I mean, I don't know.
I think I might have even been in my same clothes from EDC. It was something fucking disgusting.
So in retrospect, was that a good idea to go play post EDC, post maybe some extracurricular activities were going on? Maybe there was some PTSD being cured.
Some extracurricular activities. I actually felt pretty good. I thought the effects were less than if I just had like a night out drinking. I didn't even mean to play. I didn't mean to get in the game so early. Just at like 7 o'clock, someone texted me that there was a big game going. So the way the ARIA works is you have to put your name on the list. I stopped by the ARIA, 600, 1200. I'm like, okay, I'll go on the list. Maybe in a few hours when I'm like totally sharp, I'll get in the game. And then since I was there, I'm like, you know what? I just might as well go to the Bellagio. I tell the valet guy that I'll be in and out in under 5 minutes, give him $10, and I'm like, keep my car up front. I'll be out any minute. There's a huge list for 100, 200. And then all of a sudden, there's like a 50-100 game with a ton of like this really big spot. So all of the guys from the 1-2 game switch over. In my 5 minutes there, I get into a seat. Then all of a sudden, the spot decides he wants to play 1-2 instead, and then I'm in this crazy game. So I ended up playing between like a 14-hour session. I won a bunch at 100, 200, and I gave it all away at 612 at the ARIA. Actually, let me rephrase. I gave it away and a lot more.
So in retrospect, what you think it was a plus EV spot? Maybe what about just taking a couple of days off for EDC, enjoying EDC? You know, just is the desire to want to play those big high stakes cash games while they're running, because obviously
a really big cash game going. I have a hard time doing anything else. I felt like I think I was playing really well. Certainly not my best, and also I was only buying in 100 big blinds, and it's just one of those things where even if my brain isn't totally at my sharpest, I generally have a good enough idea what to do that I felt okay about it, you know? Like 9-handed 100 BB poker isn't the hardest thing in the world. Maybe I wouldn't recommend that people do it, but I felt okay about it.
Listen, Dan, anytime you can maybe not be playing your A game, buying in for 100 big blinds at 1200 for 120,000, I think you got to take that spot, right?
I mean, it was really the only time this summer I got to play, you know, and I tried every day.
I guess that kind of leads into another thing we were going to talk about, which is the high stakes cash game political scene currently going on in Las Vegas, where you're living in Las Vegas full time now, right?
For the last year, I've been splitting my time between here and San Diego. I like taking some breaks from poker, and from there, I'd rather be San Diego, and I can play DFS in Vegas. But there's just been poker's really been revitalized due to these ARIA tournaments. So I spent maybe half the year in Vegas.
So what's kind of your take on what's happening out there? Because you mentioned you didn't get in these games all summer. I know the games are running almost every day that I saw. So what's happening out there with some of these bigger high stakes games that are run at the ARIA?
The big ARIA game is effectively a private game where 8 people show up at the same time and they all quit at the same time every day. Anyone could put themselves on the list, and I put myself on the list as often as possible. And the hope is when most of the people quit, one of the guys is like, you know what, I want to keep playing. So then you get this guy who's playing, he's almost certainly stuck, and then so you do get in. Generally, though, and I don't really know exactly who's deciding who gets to get in or not. But the biggest game I don't get to play. 100, 200 at the Bellagio is an open game. I was starting the game a bit, putting out some text, and so many of these regs just don't realize that if you get cards in the air, people just show up and play, you know? But recently I was trying to even just start some 5100, and all of the texts that people would send me like, hey man, if you get a few fish in that game, I'd be happy to take a seat. And it's like, you're not doing me any favors, buddy. Like, if the cards are in the air, people are going to come running, you know? But
right. If you build it, they will come, Dan. That's the old saying.
If you build it, they will come. It's absolutely right. But games at the Bellagio were often pretty tough. There's like an army of these Spanish regs that came in. And some of them were just guys playing who were like 2.5 Zoom regulars. Then all of a sudden they were playing 100, 250,000 deep. And they were tough. Like, and they seemed comfortable live. They're using like good, but they're bombing it in spots where it's just like, man, how do you play 2.5 Zoom and you're just fucking mashing the turn every hand for 10,000, you know?
This is no limit or PLO?
No limit.
No limit. Okay. Do you know who the guys were?
No, I don't really know. I haven't been playing online in the last year I played Scoop, and that's probably what I'm going to do again, but I'm not really in touch with the high stakes world online anymore. And it's not even high stakes, I guess. Even like some of these guys playing 2.5, they're excellent players, but I wasn't sure who they were.
So what games are running right now then?
Right now, 1020 or 2040 runs more or less every day. I would prefer to be playing a bit bigger. I like 2040 when I could play these 25K turbo rebuys, you know. I find it a little bit difficult to get excited to play 2040. But that runs every day. There's 1500 3K 10 game, which has been running almost nonstop for like the last 6 weeks. I'm not by any means qualified to play in those games, but it is interesting to me. Like, I am super excited to play in a game that like with 4 good players, and it's like one guy who's kind of splashing around. And sometimes I mean, you know what? I don't really know who's good and who's not, but it does look to me like there's money to be won in these mixed games. But 1500 3K is huge, you know? And the next biggest game might be 8160. It's not so easy to transition.
Yeah, who's playing in those games?
I see Scott's been playing a lot. I've seen Ivy around, Nick Schulman. There's this guy called The Hat who's never played online poker. He's a little bit older than us, but people say he's great. And it's just like, man, it's crazy to me that someone could be a great poker player and have literally never played a hand of online. Doyle plays, Lyle plays. Oppenheim seems to do well in the game, or at least he's always around. I'm probably free. Oh, and Gus has been around. So it seems like these guys play some real marathon sessions.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about those games over the years, and yeah, obviously those stakes are big. And I mean, is there any possible way you could even play in those games at all?
There have been a couple of times where there was a lineup where I was just like, man, I wouldn't hate my chances in this game, but I would rather play 100, 200, 600, 1200 with a fuzzy brain, no limit, than like 1500 3K is just, I'm going to be making mistakes. And I'm not good at the stud games, you know? I'm not really good at, I was trying to learn, and I've been having a hard time with the transition. The tools aren't there, the concepts, learning a bunch of games at once. I think it's unlikely I ever hop in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to even get a lot of volume in some of these games. Just it's like, where are you really going to play it? Because none of the other American sites really have any of the games. And if you're playing 6 to 8 games you're trying to learn, I mean, it's just tough to learn them at that high of a level.
A year ago, I was donating at like 40, 80, and 100, 200 online because at those stakes, I get to play against some really great competition. And I was able to, like, you know what? I'm going to take my lumps here. And if by chance I get good, I can play in these big games, it'd be really worth it. I've played in the 50K 8 and 10 game the last couple of years. I just make so many mistakes that I know better than when I play these other games, you know. In No Limit, I almost never play a hand, and I'm immediately like, oh, fuck, what was I thinking, you know? But in the limit games, it happens to me all the time, you know. It's just, I make a ton of unforced errors.
Yeah, I think that's why it's super impressive when you see guys like a true teller who just started learning PLO, started playing mixed games, and anytime you see some of these guys who just hop into the mixed games and all of a sudden they're even like Sauce. I mean, he sort of hops in there and now he's battling with all the best players. It's definitely super impressive when you see a guy be able to do that.
It's a really hard transition, and when Sauce first started playing it, he got buried, you know. And I think, not that my opinion means anything, but I'm under the impression that he's gotten to be very good at those games, you know. And so he put in the work. He's played a lot. He took his lumps. I have all of the respect in the world for Sauce. He's certainly one of the best all-around players.
Yeah, I think High Stakes Database just opened up their results, and I believe Sauce's graph, it looks exactly how you'd expect Sauce's graph to look, where it just...
Oh, like if I went on High Stakes DB right now, could I look it up?
Yeah, you can look it up. Yeah, I believe. I think I don't know. I don't think they track 2550, and I don't really know how accurate the tracking is for a lot of players with all the other games and with everything else that. But I know there's a bunch of graphs out there, and a couple of guys have some very, very, very sick graphs. So
who's got the best graph?
I know Ben's up. Ben 86. He's up. His graph's fucking sick. He's up a lot of money. And I wonder who's up the most. I didn't look at too many graphs. I'd imagine Ivy on Full Tilt's probably up the most, but I know Benjamin's got a pretty sick graph too.
Huh.
So it's fun looking at those old school graphs and kind of seeing who's up money on there. But yeah, Ben 86 is definitely fucking that one's sick. So there's some good ones out there. Guys in the chat, we are here, we are live, and we had a lot of people join. Much love to everybody tuning in right now. You want to give any shout outs real quick, Dan? You know, someone that special might be watching.
First,
no.
Shout out to Lola.
What's up, baby? Hola, hola, mami.
Oh,
hola,
man.
dogito, hola. Whoa. What's this? Who's this? Who's this Lola? Who's this?
This is my 9-month-old Shepherd Terrier puppy. Stephanie got her from me from Mexipaws, a dog shelter in Playa del Carmen. Lola is wonderful when she's not growling at my mom. Yes, Steph came to visit last year and was just like, yo, you have to get a dog. And I'm like, sure, I think I'm ready for this. It's been wonderful. Anyway, for shout outs, Rory at Reg Charity has been super helpful. Disregarding the haters, Martin seems like an absolutely amazing guy. I'm blown away. And a shout out to everyone who has participated in the charity project. It's been really phenomenal, all the support, and it kind of way exceeded my expectations.
Martin, he's referring to his Big Papa Gates. I'm probably going to have Big Papa Gates on a pod at some point in time as well, too, because we got to find out more about him, because the DFS people, I don't think they know much about him. So it seems like a lot of the higher stakes guys in DFS are not as well known in terms of just the main players. They don't really know much about them, whereas in poker, a lot of the high stakes guys are pretty known. And I do find that pretty interesting, how a lot of the higher stakes guys in DFS are sort of kind of remain to themselves and don't really do much media. They don't really get their names out there that much, it seems like.
Some of these guys, they play, I only play football, but some of these guys play every slate, every sport, you know, and I just doesn't leave much time for everything else. Like Sahil, I don't know how he does what he does.
Yeah, he's actually one of my favorite people I met at DFS now. So he's a nice kid, man. I like that kid a lot. Obviously, he's one of the best players. He's got the alleged machine learning system going on that develops these.
I don't know the DFS gossip. What's the deal?
What's the deal with Sahil?
Yeah.
And which aspect of things?
I mean, you saying that the Dream Machine.
He's got the dream. I don't know. This is common knowledge. I had him on the podcast, and he kind of went into it and talked about it a little bit. He's got some machine, there's some algorithm or something that basically just, I don't know how it works. I don't know. I need to ask more questions, it seems like, but yeah, he's got some sort of thing that yeah.
I like to look at the high stakes guys and like look at their lineups, and in like the high stakes double ups are usually at the Thunderdome or like in the big live finals, and see certain people's habits. And there was a while last year when Sahil, or maybe it was it was last year. Sahil loved Randall Cobb, and it was just a spot where he would play him at. So I don't know if it was based on like past results or what, but I just remember, and I see other guys have like similar trends. I have no idea how other people approach DFS. I only have like Aaron, Asani, like TJ, a couple of my buddies. Mm-hmm. But I imagine there are people who look at it completely different from me, and I find it to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, for you guys don't know, we're talking about daily fantasy sports. So Dan's been playing a lot of the higher stake stuff in there. When he talks about the Thunderdome, it's a $5,000 tournament that runs on DraftKings every Sunday during the NFL season. That it gets about, I think it's maybe 50 so guys that enter that tournament, and he's kind of talking about exactly how they make their lineups up and what kind of players they like to use, what sort of stacks of players they like to use, and as he mentioned, certain players have certain tendencies for their lineups. And yeah, we kind of look at those sometimes during the show. We'll look at how people make their lineups in that $5,300 tournament, because it's a unique structure compared to something like the Millionaire Maker, which has 241,000 entries in there.
Wow, that's 241,000 is so many.
Yeah, there's one guy's won it twice this year. The same, though. I think the guy Malin 21, he won it twice this year.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, I've never even had a sweat to like have any hope at winning.
Well, we've had two guys on my show this year who were close to winning it. The one guy lost the last play of the game by a catch by your boy Randall fucking Cobb. The other one was former poker player Eric Crane, who won on the show. He won $1 million on the show when his lineup held during the Sunday.
Watching that was wild.
Are you imagining what it might be to have that sweat in the Millionaire Maker, Dan?
Even just having the sweat. In the live final this year, I never really had any hope. Pretty early on, it was clear that you needed Levy and Bell to have any chance of winning. And my lineup with Levy and Bell I had him in 1 out of 4 lineups, and my lineup otherwise was totally tanked.
You're talking about the DraftKings one that you weren't at, that I was actually at somehow in New York City, but you didn't go to that one.
You ran to Cousin Matt?
What?
My cousin Matt, you remember from last year on the pod? He was my surrogate in New York.
Who was he? Was he hanging out with was TJ and Cole and those guys, or who was he there with? Asani and those guys? I don't think I saw him at the Asani table.
Huh. I actually, DraftKings was saying that you don't have to show up, but you need someone there. They want like for pictures with a check or whatever. So I figured cousin Matt loves football. He was out there. I would guess he was hanging out with the San Diego guys, but he brought some of his other buddies. Maybe they kind of kept to themselves.
Yeah, it was like an old school poker player reunion in there. Because I walked in, I see Cole right behind me. I'm like, Cole, what are you doing here? You getting a DFS now too, man? A lot of the San Diego guys were there. TJ was out there. Dave L. Soldier was out there. Emil was there, and fucking Ariel was there too. I'm just like, what? Like, what?
Oh man, I love those.
I know. I'm like, what's happening here? It's just, this feels like it's like old school, like the poker world in here right now.
How was the party?
Not as good as the Playboy Mansion parties. No, no, the 40-40 club. I mean, it was pretty like compact. You had some guys, the guys that got more than one seats were at tables so they could sit down. But for the most part, I just kind of ventured around. They had a couple private rooms upstairs that weren't really private, but a lot of other players were back there. And there was kind of, there's little cliques in DFS. So like certain guys all stick together, and it seems like no one really interacts with people that they don't know. So I was just sort of going around talking to a lot of people that I knew there, and yeah, trying to see as many people.
Social when you're gambling so outrageously big, and no matter who you are, those finals are massive, massive stakes. So it's just, for me, sometimes it's like, man, I kind of want to just like keep to the people I know. I want to drink some beers and I want to yell at the TV.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, especially when you have all that money on the line. And these live finals, they're what, the DraftKings ones was $2 million for first place. And, you're still making a lot of money if you finish. I think it was maybe top 15 or something like that. You still made a bunch of money. So, and then in addition to all the other action that you have in the other side games, that's just not even counting that main live final.
I decided not to play any other games that week. I wanted a really clean sweat. And I found out I played David Johnson twice and Le'Veon Bell once. I thought they were both spectacular plays. And I was just like, gun to my head, like I didn't really know who I wanted, but when in doubt, I think David Johnson's the best. I played him a second time, and if I played Le'Veon Bell, I could have possibly won the $2 million.
Yeah, that was for those that don't know football. David Johnson's been one of the best daily fantasy sports backs, along with Le'Veon Bell this year. And that week, Le'Veon Bell was definitely the highest scoring running back, and David Johnson did not do so well. So it was you kind of needed Bell in your lineup to have a chance at winning it.
I didn't check my receipts, but I think it's possible Le'Veon Bell had the best day in the history of the NFL. He had 200 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and like 80 yards receiving on 5 catches or something. It was just completely ridiculous.
I want to get the receipts on that. Just figure that out. I'm curious about that. What Martin says in chat, Joey, what is the guy's name of the DFS episode? Please be more specific on that question. I have a few DFS episodes out there with some of the guys, a couple guys that used to play poker with Ryan Daught, with Sahil Sud, aka Max Adori, is one of the top guys right now. Me and Asani Fisher have a couple episodes as well. Me and Aaron Jones, who I just played basketball. I just saw Aaron at my gym this last week. I was playing ball. Me and Aaron, he always talks about when are you coming out to Vegas? When are you going to play the fucking basketball games? I try telling him when I go to Vegas, I go there to drink. I go there to go out. I go there to get out of line. I don't go there to go to UNLV and play basketball at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. So I'm shooting hoops. I turn around. Aaron walks in. I'm like, man, what's happening here, man? So we finally got a chance to play some ball together. It was a good day. It was a glorious day to finally have that happen. And I can finally prove that I actually do play basketball. So
me and Aaron we were playing a little bit of pickup in Toronto, and he only would let me shoot if I was on the right side. He's like, yo, on the left side, your form is just shit. It's too low a percentage of a shot. He won't even pass me the ball over there. But he's like, on the right, go nuts.
That doesn't sound like the GTO teammate to have, Dan. I got to be honest with you.
You know what? He's probably right. It just seems to go in a lot more from the other side. So you never played in the early game in Vegas?
No, Dan. No.
I was not. Aaron told me I wasn't allowed to play. There was a skill cutoff.
Well, I mean, whatever. You're probably going out. You want to play poker late at night. You want to go out too. So waking up 9:30 a.m. isn't.
It wouldn't have happened, but it would be nice to be asked.
Well, step your game up, kid. Get in the fucking lab and work on your game, man. Be able to get out there.
Hey, we won the championship, our rec league basketball team this year.
Oh yeah, didn't I play on that one year with you? Who were those two sick guys? Wait a second, I forgot about that. Yeah, I was in San Diego. Dan hit me up. He said, "Hey, you want to play in our rec league?" And we had like two like the sickest white guys I've ever seen in my entire life that were like twins. They had these sick beards, and they were literally the best players I've ever played pickup with. So I don't know who were they.
He was our biggest guy. He was our fastest guy. He had the best shot. He was really intense. But I honestly learned a lot from playing with him. But he was a little scary.
Who was that guy exactly? Because that guy he looked like he weighed like 210 or something, and he's just this. He was sick.
Yeah, he's Marcus's trainer in San Diego.
Marcus has a trainer?
Yeah, he lost like 25 pounds in the last like month or two. He's been getting into shape.
Nice, man. Marcus getting on the grind. Shout out to Marcus, by the way. I don't know what's he up to in San Diego?
Power forward. He dominated the boards. He was probably like our third best player. I don't know.
Who was?
Marcus.
Oh, he didn't play the time I played, I think.
He didn't?
Yeah.
TGR,
yeah. Exactly. TGR. If you know what TGR is, you know who we're talking about, man. That's it. Yeah. If you don't know what TGR is, then you probably don't know who we're talking about. But we're talking about Marcus on San Diego. Shout out to Marcus. I don't know what he's up to right now, but I know he's making the great rise all over the entire world. And
he's planning our New Year's in San Diego. The plan was to have a nice low-key night in, but
yeah, okay. Yeah, if Marcus is planning a night, if Marcus is planning your night, I don't see anything about the night being low-key or in, except it's in a nightclub at a table, maybe at Omnia in San Diego.
My one rule was no clubs this year.
For New Year's?
For New Year's.
So where are you going to go?
There's this country bar that I really like.
Stop it! Come on.
What?
Okay, wait. Are you talking about In Cahoots?
No, but I don't know about In Cahoots.
In Cahoots is in Mission Valley. They got line dancing. It is one of the GTO spots in San Diego to go for country music.
Moonshine Flats is across the street from my apartment. So for me, I think that is the most GTO.
That's true. That could be more GTO for sure then. It's closer to your place.
Yeah, it's good to be close to home, you know?
I agree. It makes it much easier to get home, kid. You don't got to call that Uber. You don't got to wait outside. Nothing out of line can happen from there to the cab. I mean,
You'd be surprised.
Well, I've heard some stories, so I can only imagine here. So I know we want to talk about the high stakes tournament scene, right? We want to say some words about that.
Some people have reached out to me recently. I think at some point the idea of swapping in these tournaments, like what is acceptable, what isn't. I think like I don't know, maybe 4 people go out for dinner one night and just try to discuss some guidelines, you know? The community of players and like these ARIA high rollers is pretty small. I think the ARIA tournaments are actually like very much on the up and up. But in some cases, like what's an acceptable amount to have of yourself compared to swaps, you know? My own personal rule is I try to have 4 times as much of myself as I do any swap. And the number's not based on anything, but I think there are some people maybe playing with less. I think maybe if we encourage people to swap less with their friends, maybe it's something that could work out, you know? Maybe it's a little bit too optimistic, but I think like a nice discussion of some people where we aired our thoughts. And I will say the stakes have gotten to be so big. For me, like the turning point was when they had a 250K in Australia. Like I was playing 100Ks and I had the piece of myself and then like some swaps. The 250K at the time was so big that I had to like break the piggy bank every contact I know to get in, you know? So it's just one of those things where they really gave us no choice. You have to swap. And like, but I do think it is important for game integrity that people don't have too much of other players, you know? It just, on some level, you cannot play entirely straight up when you have only 1.5 times more of yourself than you do somebody else. There's just too much money on the line. So at some point, I think that would be a cool idea to either have a Skype call, have everyone go out to dinner in Vegas or something along those lines.
Yeah, so kind of what he's talking about here. If you guys don't know what he's saying, so there's a lot of these high roller tournaments, the $25,000s, the $100,000 tournaments, and basically a lot of people are selling action. They're swapping a lot of action to be able to play in these tournaments. And what happens is sometimes you may be at a final table, you might be 3-handed, and you may be 3-handed with 2 other players, and one person has a big part of that other player. And I think that makes for a very awkward situation. And I know Dan was actually in a situation like that this year during the one drop with Fedor and with who was the other guy in that one?
I feel like such a jackass. I don't know what his name is. He was new to the high roller world. Fedor started staking him. I am cheating and pulling it up, but I found out like at the final table that he had like a sizable piece of this other guy. When we got down to 3-handed, the WSOP wasn't as accommodating as I think they probably should have been when I'm like, hey, we have to like pause the clock for a minute. But eventually we ended up making a deal 3-handed. I think it's just not possible to really, like, how could I possibly win in that scenario where one guy has a giant piece of the other, you know? Respect to them they were totally straight up about it. He could have like tried to twist my arm with the, like try to get more out of the deal or whatever. The guy, his name is Corey Altamir, and I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation, so I'm very sorry. But we ended up doing an ICM chop, and we left 300K for first place, and of course the bracelet and the prestige of winning and all that jazz.
So you say when you guys were negotiating that deal, I guess you're talking about Fedor was pretty.
He was totally on the up and up. Like it was a situation where if he was like, but you know what, I want an extra 3% on ICM. I wasn't going to give up anything, but it would have put me in a really tough situation. And in some situations, I would say, as the big stack, ICM is slightly, when you're the big stack, ICM slightly negates the advantages of that. Though I guess, no disrespect to this other guy, but he's new to the high roller scene. I think trying to get anything more would have been a little bit egregious. But both guys were totally on the up and up. The Rio doesn't enforce chops, so we just had a handshake deal for outrageous money.
So wait a second. So, okay, I've been a part of one of these like handshake sort of chops in one of those satellites for the 25K PLO this year, and that's some crazy shit. That's madness. You're like, I mean, I guess in that situation, that's not for a lot of money. So when you're in a spot like that and you guys are chopping, how do you make sure that you actually end up getting that extra money if you finish second or you finish third?
I just met up with Fedor, and he had a stack of $25,000 chips that he handed me.
I love it. Hey, you're okay, Dan. Here you go. Here's well, I guess in that situation with Fedor, you know, obviously Fedor's you know, member of the community. He's got, I mean, I wouldn't foresee that happening, but at the same time, it does seem, I'm sure most people are like, that seems fucking crazy that you would take a risk like that. But it does sort of feel like it is kind of standard, though, in some ways.
I mean, also the stakes have gotten to be so big that, of course, like people have investors, you know, so it wouldn't be that different from, ooh, I just cashed in $3 million in this tournament. Why don't I just tell my investors that, sorry, I decided to keep the money instead, you know? But yeah, everything went without a hitch. Would have been nice to win, but I'm not complaining.
Now, you mentioned in that situation, you felt like it would be hard to win three-handed if one guy, so what do you mean by that exactly?
There are just certain, if three-handed, if one guy is heavily invested, he could, I would think Fedor could maybe apply extra pressure to me in a situation where if he's like kind of playing chicken, I'm having a slightly hard time putting it into words, but okay, in a situation, if he and I were to have a confrontation, the EV goes to the third player. If he's also staking that third player, when I lose, it could be like they both win, given he's the backer, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like, man, I don't know, Fedor runs so damn. How's he do it, man? How's he always have the three guys in these big turns? I don't. Fedor's building an army, man, isn't he? What you got a name for the army Fedor's building over there?
I haven't coined it, but I do like that we've been calling them the Fedorses.
The Fedorses. So you combine Fedor with horses, you get Fedorses.
And there's these guys who I haven't seen. They're just putting into all of these high rollers. They all seem to play pretty similarly, but it'll be interesting to see how the experiment goes. I think there's still value to be had in these super high rollers. It wouldn't surprise me if, I haven't played with all of his guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were mostly all winning. Right, I keep forgetting to open this.
You want to talk about, did you want to talk about any sort of anything related to the action buying, people buying action in the high roller stuff?
I think similar to the swapping thing, you should just be buying pieces that are appropriate. And it is, there are a lot of gray areas. Like, are you allowed to stake somebody full time? I think that's fine. If you're playing a 500 player tournament, can you stake somebody for the tournament and play yourself? I think that's fine. I don't know where the line is drawn. Maybe if there's like an exception for super high rollers. I don't know if it would be, this is just an idea off the top of my head. If players were just to announce and declare how much they have of themselves and of other players, how valid that is that an invasion of privacy? I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to enforce that. I mean, it kind of comes down to what can be enforced, what can't be enforced. And I guess if you in that situation, if you don't know two people maybe have something, then that's going to be an advantage for those people. And I mean, it's just, it's kind of a spot where how could you ever really verify that? And especially when there's a lot of money to be made, I think we've seen that people are going to do things that when you can't enforce them, that's just sort of how things are going to go.
The benefit, I think, is it wouldn't cost you that much money to make sure you had appropriate size pieces. Like if you pretend you're playing 25% of yourself, whether you have, say, 5% or 10%, like the EV of these pieces you're buying isn't like super massive, So if you just are forced to reduce the piece you have, you're not costing yourself that much money, But I think it's a discussion that I would like to have and then get some other people's opinions, but there are a lot of tough situations that come up. And I don't know what the answer is.
Do you think this is a problem in the 25Ks that are been running a lot here at the ARIA?
No, I think, to my knowledge, there's not like a single person who's like staking a bunch of these guys, They're all people who've been around for a while. I'm not super up on like the gossip, but like guys like Sean Winter, Tom Marchese, Jake Schindler, D. Peters, like they've all been doing very well, I don't think there's any reason to suspect that they have like tiny pieces of themselves. I think the ARIA tournaments are totally on the up and up. The shot clocks, they're very well run. I would give them. I was considering, quote unquote, retiring last year, and I was just like, what if I was doing something like other than poker? And these ARIA tournaments really have been a game changer. They're fun to play. They're high stakes. I love the shot clock. Makes a huge difference for me. It makes it really more enjoyable to play. You can eat good food while you're playing. I think they're good tournaments, and I think they're totally on the up and up. And for the record, I'm down like 700K at the ARIA this year.
Bang, bang.
Those 100Ks, man, when you just don't cash any of them, they get expensive. And
I've heard that, allegedly, speculation here. I've heard that there's some, that's not a trend that's likely to change anytime soon with the ARIA stuff. I hear that they're definitely looking to build that up and build that into something that's kind of a premier sort of destination. So it could be something where that doesn't stop and those games are always available to run, and maybe it attracts more regular players to Vegas, and maybe there's a consistent action to keep playing even on these off months.
25K tournaments a month is just pretty high stakes, I don't think that alone is enough really like a sustainable way to make a living, but they're really fun to play, and I think there's certainly money to be made in them.
I guess the downside, as you mentioned earlier, is that, well, what do you play when you're not playing those if you want to play poker? So if you don't have any 51 that runs and you can't play, I mean, the only other high stakes games are these uber high stakes games, and then there's some private games. It doesn't really leave much of an option in terms of what you play when those games aren't running.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I've branched out to DFS in the fall for football season, but it's not like DFS is low variance, like football. I don't even know if I'm a favorite to make money during football season, and I think I am. But given that I'm playing so many qualifiers and how likely it is that you're playing a satellite that's a winner take all to a super high stakes, super top heavy tournament. The DraftKings tournament was 27% up top with 180 players. You need a ton of money to be playing that responsibly.
So what Dan's talking about is in DFS, there are these qualifiers, these live finals, where they have them sometimes in LA for FanDuel. They have them in New York City for DraftKings, and people spend so much fucking money trying to qualify these qualifiers. And it's only in a lot of them, it's for first place wins the seat. And what happens is you end up spending a ton of money, and you only how much do you actually think you spent on qualifiers this year? This was by the way, this was the biggest thing. I think, who taught me this? Touche, Evan. I know Evan's in the chat too. He told me when I first started playing DFS, do not play the qualifiers. You're going to end up burning so much money. I didn't listen to him.
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't listen to him. I was like, yeah, fuck, whatever. I'm going to do it anyway.
They are my favorite sweat, Not being cryptic, I just don't really know how much I spent on qualifiers, when I was going really hard at it, I was just getting as much action down across the board as I could, and I don't really know what my breakdown was. I would max enter the $300 queue, which was usually 8 entries. On FanDuel, I didn't really play the FanDuel qualifiers this year. On DraftKings, I would play like 8 of those. 2 of the 1Ks on Thursday, 2 of the 1Ks on Sunday, and the 5K. And I wouldn't play the 5K every week. So let's see, what's that? 5, 74, 90, like maybe 12,000 a week in qualifiers.
How much did you make in the final in New York City?
I cashed for 110,000. It was, I believe, it was overall a profitable endeavor for me, but I'm not certain. NFL has overall gone decent. You know what? I had a good season, but at one point this year, I was just absolutely crushing, like midway through the year.
You know, there's a way to track these things, how much you spend in certain tournaments, right?
I know Aaron has this software that's DFS tracker. I just don't really see the point.
Let's say that you're playing a specific tournament and you haven't made any money in that tournament throughout the year, but you don't realize it.
NFL is 16 weeks. You just don't know whether you're winning or losing.
Can't argue with that. I mean, obviously the variance is fucking high.
I just deposited 100K on each site. And each year, just like last year I thought was good. This year was tougher. I don't know if I was going to follow through, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to deposit this 100K and I will reevaluate if I bust one of my accounts. But I probably would have flicked in one more 100K bullet before I went back to the drawing board.
And then maybe another 100K bullet, depending on how things are going. I mean, hey, you know, I mean, you gotta.
I flip flop so much on like what I think of edges are in NFL DFS. Sometimes I think like I looked at my distribution of players that I had. Last week was that $1,500 tournament, 3,000 players. I entered 20 times, and I looked at my distribution of guys, and it's just like, man, I'm just playing all of the good players. But if I'm playing like each guy twice, how am I making money? You know, like, are we just losing to the rake? Maybe I'm not looking enough at like the qualifier lineups, but I really have no idea how much I'm making at NFL. I was winning, so I kept doing it, but conceptually, edges should be pretty tiny, I would think.
Yeah, obviously, when there's only, well, I guess Evan said 20 weeks. I guess there is 20 weeks if you do count the playoffs. I don't know how Super Bowl works, but yeah, I guess that's true. There are the playoffs, which they're not a lot of games in those slates, but they're still going to run, and there's going to be some high stakes action to be had during those weeks too. So yeah, I just think with the variance there, it's got to be tough if you're a top player putting in quality lineups. It's got to be hard to really. I mean, in cash games, I feel like it's a little bit easier to know, but if you're playing a lot of tournaments too.
In cash games, I just compare my lineup to people whom I really respect. And if it's just like, I'm the only guy who thought this dude was a good play, you know, like maybe the process was flawed. Because I was having such a good year after the World Series, I was thinking that I wanted to just gamble as big as possible at DFS, and I thought that the qualifiers were good value, even though the variance was ridiculous. So I thought I was maximizing EV, even though my chances of having a winning year might have only been like 50-50. But also, man, it's so much fun to have a huge sweat on the games. Like, it's great.
Okay, we got a good question here from Osmond then. Ask Dan if he would say he's ever been / is addicted to gambling.
I probably am addicted to gambling.
Yeah. Seems to be that way. Do you think it's a bad thing though? A good thing? What's your stance on that then?
You know what? There have been times where I have been gambling too big. I think I am not just like skilled at like making good lineups or playing like the way I play poker, I think I get into the right games. I try to use like the exact right percentage of my bankroll in all these situations. I think I deploy it well. I certainly love to gamble. There have been times where I've certainly gotten carried away. Like this winter, I started off the year kind of hot, and then at the Commerce, I just got completely obliterated, and then it was like since I started off the year hot, like pieces I would take of people in big games, I pressed it, and I was like betting some sports. I was pressing that. I have gotten. There have been times where I've probably been gambling too big, but on the other hand, the tax structure is really hard for Americans. You know, when you're having a good year, you should press it. I'm still a relatively young guy in an industry that doesn't have the longest shelf life. You know, I think I should be aggressive with my bankroll when I'm winning. I think it'll be a good test how my gambling changes January 1st. For those who don't know, if you're having a winning year, at the end of the year, you're effectively playing like a bit smaller stakes because the government, like the IRS, is a piece of you. Given like if you win, you're just paying taxes on that, and if you lose, it's a write-off. In the beginning of the year, you want to make sure that you aren't at risk of having a losing year. So I can't be going super big. Part of the reason I'm not doing Aussie Millions this year, because how do you play a 100K or 250K tournament without firing massive, you know? It's just, I don't like having small pieces of myself. Yeah, okay, you know what? I'm a bunch of words. I'm addicted to gambling, but I think it's probably a good thing.
There you go. Okay. Another question we got earlier was, do you think gambling is good for the world? I believe it was something like that. And it kind of goes in line with what we're talking about earlier about the idea of charity and helping people out. And I guess from that aspect, do you think that gambling in general is, I want to figure out the exact way that question was worded, but I think that was kind of the basics of it.
First, I just want to say this was another excellent question. Your chat stepped it up from last year. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Bang, bang.
I think gambling, I think there's tons of people who shouldn't gamble. I think if you do it responsibly, like if you have a decent job and you like betting $100 while you watch your favorite football team, or even when I have a little bit of money on the game, I find it much more fun, especially if you have wasted bet without paying juice, like where you're giving up very little. I think there are plenty of people who gamble that shouldn't be gambling. I don't. As far as I would like the person to clarify if they think like good for me or like a little bit more specific.
Good for the world.
Good for the world. I would say, you know, it's almost certainly not. I don't know any statistics about it. I think like the lottery is like kind of evil, you know, where it's the commercials, they play to people's emotions, where it could be like, hey, it could be you, or like these showing people being happy, changing their life. And I think some of the people who buy into that are people who could afford it the least, you know. I would say gambling is likely a net negative on the world, but I also don't think it's necessarily the government's place to decide what we can or cannot do.
Evan says, if gambling was just all peer-to-peer, it wouldn't be such a scourge on society.
I think that is a fair point. But on the other hand, I think it's like, should people be able to go to the casino? I don't see why not. Maybe some of the rules, like they're designed in such a way that like if you want to use the bathroom, you have to walk by the craps table, and that's kind of dirty. I think I'm also not particularly informed about like the habits of people with gambling problems. So I don't know statistics on people gambling with money that they shouldn't be gambling with. Slightly related, I've been considering the idea of like whether society, if there should be like a minimum global income just for everyone. If people were given just given like a certain salary, and I would be curious whether people would be likely to just fuck it off and drop it on booze and gambling, or if they would be making good decisions with it. Give Directly is doing an experiment. Some of your money could go towards like evaluating how this kind of operation would work. I think that's something that's interests me. And a step further, like with technology improving, a lot of people are going to be losing their jobs. Is just giving people a baseline income a valid solution? And I would be interested in people's thoughts, but I have no idea.
Archer in the chat says, I think Denmark is trying something along those lines. So I guess the idea that that they're trying is, so they're giving every citizen of the country a certain amount of money. And then if they work, they make money on top of that. Where does the money comes from? Taxpayers, or where does the money come from in that situation?
Are you asking me or the guy in the chat?
I'm gonna ask both. And I'm gonna ask you, if in this situation, where does the money come from? So the money comes from people that are donating it for that experiment with that particular charity?
Yes, this is Give Directly, and given how these people are living off of 65 cents a day, the money could go pretty far, and I am very intrigued how that goes. On a bigger scale, I really don't know, but I read recently that truck driver is the most common job in the US. Uber has recently announced that they are working, or they have released self-driving cars, so self-driving Ubers. I think it's only like 10 years away where truck driver becomes like obsolete as a profession,
Mm-hmm.
I think something has to be done, because I feel like the way that the situation currently is set up is that all of the money is going to funnel up to, say, the top 1%. The people who own the technology are just going to get richer and richer, making the gap between rich and poor much larger. So I think something absolutely needs to get done. How to do that, I think, is a much harder question. But I would be very open if anyone in the chat has suggestions on how to save the world.
Wasn't one of those reg charities kind of working with that? Isn't it kind of something to do with AI and something to do with machines and kind of bots taking over situations like that?
Are you talking about Miri?
I'm not sure what the specific. Yeah, it's kind of something I heard about a long time ago. So I don't have the have it at the top of my head right now. I remember something, they were doing something where one of the charities was looking into. Someone in the chat will the chat knows everything. Someone in the chat will clarify me here and kind of give me the answer for that. But yeah, obviously bots and these self-driving, everything. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big worry, because as you mentioned, once they take over cars, if they take over truck drivers, and now then they take over these fast food places. I think there's some fast food places now that don't really have workers. You order from a machine, and then the food, I mean, I don't know. It is certainly something that's as it keeps growing and expanding, yeah, it seems like something to definitely worry about.
I think the next 10, 15 years is going to be a really wild time. We're going to see some crazy shit.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, obviously, we definitely have bots in the online poker world, the PLO world. I'm sure they're in the Nolan Hold'em world out there. I'm sure that I don't know if they're in DFS yet or not, but I mean, I don't know. I guess
it seems like an algorithm doing what I do for DFS and just being more efficient at it. Seems like it shouldn't be that far off. Maybe, I think with ownership projections, I have a hard time imagining AI being better than a human, but maybe I'm just really underestimating how good AI is at all these fucking things. So, but I am not bullish on the future of DFS. I think bots are a real concern, and it's just where do you draw the line?
Mm-hmm. Couple comments in the chat about what you said. Danny Danny Muzi says the only problem with technology taking people's jobs, such as truck drivers, is that a lot of people whose jobs that is are too old to retrain in a different field, and IMO, a universal income, is needed. A couple other comments. Brendan says, or that's kind of unrelated, but we'll get to that one too. Steven says, all these truck drivers are such a waste of time and money. Underground trains running on magnets use way less electricity, and having a web set up to all major port cities would be all you need. That's it. Sounds easy. Okay. Why don't they have that now? Sounds really easy. Brendan says, just joining, so ignore if he already answered this. Why did Dan decide to donate in such a public way rather than do it more privately?
I think that is a great question. Just to start off, given that I have had a good run of poker the last couple of years, I have relatively a lot of reach. I thought if I use social media that I would be able to raise another $175,000. I think the main objection to donating publicly is that it's kind of socially arrogant, rubbing it in people's face that I have money to donate. But my assumption was that I would be able to raise $175,000. Reg Charity has said that it cost $3,400 to literally save somebody's lives. We're talking over 50 lives saved from me choosing to donate publicly and use social media rather than just do it quietly, I think that it's saving all of those lives and dealing with any of the social repercussions is kind of, for me, I thought it was kind of a slam dunk. I also had some hopes that, and this ended up coming forth, that other people who had the means would like the idea and would match on. I didn't expect it to this degree, but other people, my 175 is now raised an additional 625,000. That's slightly misleading.
I think that's all you got to say right there. Let's just say, hey, I wanted to raise more fucking money. Okay, let me give the answer, Dan. Why you do it publicly instead of privately? Listen, I was trying to match donations. I wanted to raise much money as I could. I thought there might be a chance some psychopath would come along and donate $325,000 to try to match charity. And plus, I decided, hey, let me get this out there. Let me tell people what I'm about. I'm into this kind of thing. I'm going to attract other people who are also into that. I'm going to have some discussions with people I might not have normally had discussions with about these topics and ideas. And man, I'm going to make a difference somehow, Dan. That's the answer. That's the answer, Dan.
That was a better answer than I was able to
That's the answer right there. That's the answer, man. It's just,
hang on one second.
Let me give some shout outs while Dan answers the door, man. He's got, he got a worker? Oh, Vegas worker? Calm down, dog. Hold on. Let me give some shout outs. Calm down, dog. All right. Who we got? Who we got in the chat? Harb's in the chat. What's up, Harbs? Neil B. George. K-O-E. What's up, puppy? Alex Babbitts. I saw my girl Drea out there. Drea said she saw you at EDC, Dan.
What's up?
Hope she didn't see you in no field out there, man. Who we got? Rocky Falcoa. What up, Rocky?
Yo.
I'm out of line. Let me stop.
That was out of line. Also, allegedly.
It's not alleged.
Whoa. How do you know anything is true or not? Just we're all in a simulation. Nothing is real. Listen, I got a theory, Dan. Anytime I hear something from more than one person, it starts transitioning from a alleged standpoint, You know? I do know.
Let me get back to the shout-outs. Chad Halsey. What's up, Chad? Glenn Moore, puppy. Matt Dwyer. Who else we got? Christopher Green, Reberes, Coramosa, Ala Margarita, puppy. Brian Milne. What's up, Brian? Neil B. Neil. Harbs. All right, that's all I got, man. I miss Harambe. Jacob, man, you wonder where you get timed out, man. Harambe sold 2016. You better get your last Harambes out in the chat. Better get your dicks out for him, man, because 2017, Harambe's got to go. He does, man. Dan, You said you heard someone's firing some shots at you, questioning your poker tournament ability.
Oh, your boy Doug Polk has decided to. People recently on Twitter were saying that he called me out in a couple of his videos. I think it's kind of weak from him. Like to one, I saw one of them. He was like laughing at the idea that I could be plus EV in the PokerStars 100K tournament, and it's just like if you really thought that, rather than running your mouth, he could have just reached out to me, and I would have loved to have bet as big as he wanted to see whose opinion was right on this, you know. And more recently, he's reached out, and rather than just taking some like weak shots for his YouTube stream, I would have loved to have bet on myself versus him, and instead well, I guess he was busy playing 5 cent, 10 cent, no limit, you know. So whatever.
Bang bang. So wait, so he made a video. He was laughing at the prospect of you being plus EV in the 100K tournament on PokerStars.
Yeah. I was in San Diego, and it was week 1 of NFL DFS where I decided to focus on that. But if I could have gotten some crossbooks down, and especially some like the opportunity to inflict some pain on Doug, I would have been happy to taken the trip into Mexico and played some high stakes.
So it might be something in 2017. You guys might have some cross booking going on. Well, you've had history with the Empire, with JMO, you know, shot the JMO with Doug and with these guys. You get something happened in the past, or
a moderately sized fortune betting my opinion versus the evil Empire. It seems like the evil Empire is kind of out of the high stakes poker business. Doug is playing his stream instead. JMO is a full-time entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur life.
I don't know what Fee's doing.
Fees is doing a lot of upswing stuff. Got upswing poker there. Big Dick Donger Kim is now turning into a superstar for Natural 8 over in China. I think he's taken over the Chinese poker market right now, and he's probably going to be the biggest poker player in the world.
Shout out to
6 years.
Total sweetheart, absolutely great guy. I've had some feuds with the evil Empire in the past, but Dong is a total sweetheart, and only good things to say about him.
What about Jason? Jason Les playing a lot of he's playing a lot of high rollers still too. I'm pretty sure he'll still be playing a lot in the coming year.
I haven't seen him really at any of the Aria tournaments, but he played the Super High Roller Bowl. He plays a bit, but I'm under the impression he's not on like the full-time grind anymore.
I don't know. Maybe there might be some crossbook opportunities for you guys. I mean, obviously you can't.
I really wanted to bet on Sauce versus Doug at Heads Up No Limit, but it appears that Doug is out of the Heads Up No Limit game.
Some might say you had that chance in a past Heads Up No Limit Hold'em challenge.
Years ago, Doug did win, but it kind of seems like Doug has been holding on to that like one moment, you know. It was a couple, and I don't know whether even if Sauce would be a favorite, you know, but I got to respect that he's willing to step back into the ring. He, to my knowledge, doesn't want to do any sort of like big challenge, but it seems like a couple months ago he was trying to like play some 100, 200, and I would have booked some more on the side, but Doug seemed to not have any interest in that.
Well, I'm sure we'll maybe get a word or a take from Doug on this situation. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Well, so wait, so do you think in the 100K on PokerStars, you think you're very plus EV in that situation then?
I wouldn't say very plus EV. It was a small field. Like I think the best player in the field is probably winning at less than, almost certainly the best player is winning at less than 15%. But I am very confident in my no limit tournament game, and I would love the opportunity to back it up.
I love it, man. I love it. I love the heart kid. I love the heart kid. I love it, man. We've already established you like to gamble, and we already established that you like to gamble. So.
And I do enjoy like a little bit of like when you can inflict pain on some of your rivals, I do find it to be a pretty good motivator, you know? Or when you have like a side bet versus somebody else, I do feel like, okay, I really got to bring the A game.
I like it, man. We'll check in with Doug. We'll see what Doug's got to say about this. Maybe we can set something up. Maybe we get a little bet going on. I don't know how much poker Doug's gonna be playing in terms of maybe it's something, you know, you guys could do versus each other or anything like that. But maybe you just get some...
I've seen those guys take shots at tournament players, and now it's like, hey, now that you guys are professional streamers playing micro stakes, I think you have to get off your high horse. Like, it was one thing when they were some of the best heads up no limit players, and if they wanted to take shots at tournament players, I thought it was like kind of immature, but sure. But I think they have lost those privileges when they've kind of, they're not really running any of the streets anymore.
So you think they can't? I mean, Dan, we can admit, in general, tournament players are, I mean, you talk to the guys, the tournament players, general tournament players are playing poker at an interesting level, Dan. We can't necessarily overall deny that on a big scale. In terms of the better players or the higher stakes, I think that's a very different story. But in general, tournament players are...
I think cash game players are way more technically sound than tournament players, and I agree it's not very close. There are a few things that make it. Tournaments have varying stack sizes, and at various stages of a tournament, like when you're playing 2-5 no limit, $5 is always $5, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There were times when with ICM, strategies could change drastically. You have to be well versed in all stack sizes. That is very challenging. I think if you're playing, like, say, mid stakes no limit, you could buy a huge database of hands, copy what the biggest winners are doing, like their pre-flop ranges, and not to take.
Come on, it ain't that easy. I mean, you can't just buy OTB Red Baron's hands and now you're OTB Red Baron in that situation.
No, of course. But you could see that he plays 18% of hands under the gun six-handed, you know? Like, you could at least get a decent starting point. In tournaments, I think the ranges are not as defined with various stack sizes and whatnot. And the ante is a game. And I would agree, like, for the stakes, tournaments are much better value. That's why I transitioned out of cash games in like 2011, you know, when I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing a 100K tournament. And like, in terms of like, I thought in like 2012, I was one of the most technically proficient tournament players, you know? And I was playing 100K buy-ins. If I was playing those stakes online, I'd be playing with 4 super experts, you know? I think the future of no limit tournaments is like the Bellagio 5 Diamond got almost 800 players, got 2 million up top. These Aria tournaments, I think cash games online are dying. So I don't know if it's like a thing to be looking down on tournament players anymore, when it's just like, I think it's a more sustainable economy.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to agree with on that. It seems like the trend for cash games on general online is certainly going down. Whether that's a function of more sites pushing players towards these fast poker games, more towards the tournaments, whether they're more popular. Which, I mean, I guess, you know, I feel like they probably are more popular tournaments in general. And yeah, it's unfortunate for me as a cash game player of the great game of Pot Limit Omaha. Dan, you been playing any great game Pot Limit Omaha, by the way?
Last year I played a fair bit on Bovada. And I was playing PLO instead of No Limit on Bovada.
How much I win versus you, Dan? 10-20. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Where were you playing 10-20 on Bovada?
I deposited $1,500, and then I made a $1,500 sports bet, and then I started playing 5-10 and then 10-20. I didn't put in huge volume. I won like 30K, and the software was too tilting for me to continue.
There's some tilting software for sure. I mean, believe me.
I feel like I never would get a free pot when somebody else's computer would crash or their software, but it happened to me all the fucking time. Like all the time. I would crash maybe once an hour.
What do you mean by crap? What exactly happened? It just
Vada would freeze where I couldn't click the buttons, and sometimes I would like Control Alt Escape, close it, bring it back up in time, but I would very frequently just get timed out.
I think one of the biggest tilting things for me is when you'd get stacked and then you couldn't reload, and so you'd be empty. You couldn't you'd reload, but it wouldn't give you your chips, and then you'd have the Jesus seat on the fun player who just doubled up through you, and then you have to leave the table and you couldn't come back for 5 fucking minutes to sit down. That is definitely, I mean, both of these are very equally as tilting, and I'm getting tilted hearing your story right now by that. But man, Bovada definitely has some things. I mean, it's got its own plan. By caution, guys, you plan the site, obviously use caution. Any American site, you want to use caution. Keep your money on there. Don't keep a lot of money. They got Bitcoin now. Make sure you cash money out. You don't need to keep all your money on there. That's just a little disclaimer for all the people out there. So
I think you should come to Vegas this summer and play some of the PLO cash games.
I'm retired, Dan.
You're retired?
No, I'm not retired. I'm kidding. I'm going to play. Never mind. I can't.
But some of the bigger games, but I mean, not a ton, but I played some 200, 400 PLO this summer.
You love that. I feel like you love PLO, man. You got to think about it. You love the action. You want to play hands. You love PLO. Like we got to get you over to the game, Dan. You maybe need to take it up a little bit more, man. It's a great game. You get 4 cards. You don't got to fold the 3 bets. I mean, I'm sure you probably don't fold a lot of 3 bets anyway. No limit, but like you literally don't have to fold any 3 bets in PLO. It's just, man.
I think for especially live cash games, PLO is strictly better. I just feel much more confident when I'm playing a big game to be playing no limit, you know? I would love if we're running this summer to be playing a 3 or like a big bet mix of like pot limit Omaha, no limit Hold'em, no limit single draw. And like, and that would be, I think maybe we would get some action. There's the big bet mix at the Aria, but that game is similarly big to the 1500 3K game where it's just like, how am I going to get my feet wet playing 300, 600 Badoogie, you know? It's a massive game. And it's not the 300, 600. Like, well, it is 300, 600, but the game plays bigger than that, you know? Like, there are multiple $1 million pots.
Some crazy stuff, man. It's kind of wild when you see how much, especially this summer, it seemed like there was a ton of action everywhere at the Wynn, at the Bellagio, at the Aria, and it's just crazy to see how big some of these games are. And I mean, you wonder kind of, you know, where's everybody got the money from? Where is it coming from? And how much money people got? And some of these guys are playing every day. It's certainly, I'm not big into the whole like.
They get stacked and they just pull out like 4 more cranberries. It's like, what the
fuck? Yeah, it's crazy. They're like, with the backpack, they got 100,000. You're like, what's happening? Oh, where's like what is? Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. It's fascinating. It definitely is fascinating.
The live economy is a wild thing. I assume all of these guys are like the best players in their games back home, right? And they're taking a shot in Vegas. But I just don't know how it works.
Well, I mean, from learning more about the live games currently happening in the United States, there are some big fucking live games happening in the United States. And
where are the games?
I mean, they're all over, man. I want to call. I know Texas, allegedly Texas has a lot of action going on down there. I'm sure you maybe know about that. Obviously down in South Florida, there's a lot of action down in there. LA, I mean, I've heard about all kind of fuck games in LA. It's pretty wild to hear that.
We'll just say if the Giants play the Cowboys in the NFC Championship, I will definitely be making a trip to Dallas. And if I happen to play a little poker, maybe I might just stumble into a game, you know?
And it's I think kind of that's what a lot of, you know, I've kind of been I think that's what kind of what a lot of the guys have done is that there's this whole little home game scene. There's a home game. I don't know, PokerStars made some changes recently. There were some big home games running on the PokerStars home game software as well too. And I think that's what a lot of guys are doing is that they're playing in these.
Are we talking like 5K buy-in or 50K buy-in?
I know there's some games where the stakes equivalent are a bit higher. I don't exactly know if any 50K buy-in games were regularly running. I would imagine most of those games are probably just running live when the stakes get that high, though.
I have heard either like a year ago that there was like some secret nosebleed games on a new site where people were playing like 501k PLO.
Was this a Vegas related kind of thing?
Not being cryptic, I don't really know who was in charge. I just remember I just had someone point out to be like, yo, this dude just won like several hundred K playing online poker. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that's like where, like when you wonder where some of these guys went, they either just aren't playing poker anymore or they're playing in these games. And the home game scene, obviously out in LA, there's a ton of home games out there. I mean, there's all kind of action out there. So it's its own little world. And at some point, maybe more will be discussed about it. But I think a lot of people don't really want to talk about it much, just because why would you want to? Why would you want to draw more attention?
You can't be telling other people about getting in on it. I will say, when I'm playing these big games, so many of these guys love to tell me about how good their game is back home, and like, oh man, I had 18 winning sessions in a row playing 50, 100 in Boston, and just like, huh, cool. But yeah, I do think that poker in the U.S. is booming.
I agree. Shout out to Boston. Shout out to New York City. Shout out to all the big cities out there. Shout out to Chicago. I know some games in Chicago too. It's
San Diego. No poker, but San Diego's dope.
Yeah, San Diego is just dope, man. What do you think about, what do you like compared to Vegas to San Diego? Which obviously I think, well, I don't even know if San Diego's your favorite, but you got this sick dog, and that's going to be much more GTO in San Diego than it is in Vegas.
Oh, man, I just take her outside every day in shorts and a tank top. I go for my coffee. It's really, San Diego is kind of paradise, you know. Just every day is perfect. I do like Vegas too, though. I spent a lot of time here in the last year. The food is good. Getting able to play some big games is fun. I'm a big fan of the West Coast.
Any stories with the dog, and any engaging chess matches you may have gotten on some of these walks?
I have had some very.
Poppy, hold on a second. You see these, man? Look at these underwear I got, bro.
That's sick.
I know. That's what I was like. Literally the sickest gift for Christmas I've ever got. I looked at these things. I was like, what the hell is my sister got these for me? Now I don't know what's happening. Shout out to my sister. But chess boxers for a chess player, I mean, I was like, man, this is great. That's like so meta. It's just so deep on so many levels that, yeah, it's crazy. You got any stories with that dog? What's been happening with the dog, man? I always hear about how a dog is super plus EV.
The dog makes it way easier for conversations with strangers to go down. Everyone wants to meet the puppy, you know?
Why do people always want to meet? I don't understand. Like, why do people always want to meet the puppy?
He's on the other side of the room, but just pretend I'm picking her up to be like, don't you want to see this face? Like,
okay. What makes dogs so cute exactly? Everyone wants to go pet the fucking dog and meet the dog. I don't understand the fascination with dogs. I mean, I'm also a little bit.
Don't you understand?
Yeah, that's a cute dog. You're right. What's up? What up, dog? Yeah, I guess so.
Ah!
Yeah.
Okay. It has been a very strange couple of months for me.
Give me a story.
I went on 3 dates with this girl in Mexico City when I was visiting JC. Shout out to JC.
Shout out to JC.
She was cool. We had some good times. I was going to fly her out to San Diego.
The in-call grind. Okay, so you met a girl in Mexico City, 3 dates. You're gonna fly her into San Diego, make that special in-call. So what happened?
I bought her a flight. 2 days before the flight, she messages me that she's having a visa issue, and then it turns out that the visa issue is that her dad won't give her her visa. And because Mexico is a Catholic country, conservative family, and he was just like, absolutely not. And I end up FaceTiming with the dad, who he doesn't really speak English. I don't really speak Spanish. I was defeated in my endeavors, and she never made it out to San Diego.
We got George in the chat. If I like her, I just fly her to the city I'm in. Drake, that's true. So you didn't see her. You didn't see her again. Have you talked to her again? Have you? Was she of age? How old is this girl, Mexico? I don't know Mexico City.
Great question.
Oh boy.
She was 25. I want to clarify that I am not going for anyone like super young. It's just a.
Listen, if Daniel Negreanu can go on the young girl grind, so can why can't we, right?
What are you referencing?
Daniel Negreanu, he's a young girl grinder.
I need some details. Like,
it's Daniel about this, man. I got nothing to say. I got no.
Is this alleged?
I ain't trying to blow his spot up, man. I'm just saying, man. He's been known on the podcast to talk about being on the young girl grind. So
what's a young girl? Is 25 young?
That ain't
25
young.
is not young. Okay.
No. We're young, Dan. Young, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Okay. Age is just a number, man. Actually, I don't even fucking believe that.
Dan, I know you were a fan of the whole girl grind too, right?
When I am on the grind, I would say that I am just kind of on the full-time grind, but not especially. It just happens sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. No,
how about you?
What's up?
Hey,
Poppy, you know me, man. You know
me. I think it's only.
I'm balanced, man. Okay, I'm balanced. We got the YGG, we got the OGG, we got the GGG, we got the AGG. We got them all in there, man. We got old girl grind, young girl grind, grandma girl grind.
Grandma?
I mean, you got to stay balanced, Poppy. You never been on the grandma grind?
No.
Oh man, you know what you're missing, man. They're nice women. They know what they want. They're smart. They're experienced. They've lived life. No? Okay. Shout out to the grandma girl grind. Obviously, big girl grind, 160 or above. I'm gonna show you love. 160 or below, gotta go. You ain't a big girl, you gotta go. We haven't whipped that saying out in a long time. But yeah.
Give me a story from a recent chess match.
Oh, Pop.
One story.
Hold on, let me check how long we're into this. An hour and 45. Listen, I know the stalkers aren't watching right now. Let me think about this for a second. Which story do I can't, man. I just can't. I'm sorry.
I take a leap of faith for you.
I can tell you in okay, fine. Okay, fine. I can't. I don't want to call anybody out here on the podcast.
Okay. You don't have to use names. Keep the details PG-13.
Give me a country.
A country?
Country.
Sweden.
Okay, so Dan, I have this bad habit where, and this is man, I have this bad habit where I tend to meet women from different countries, right? And we usually will get into and I've made some enemies this way, I think too. And I tend to have a bad habit where I'll engage in conversation with them through a various social network, a Facebook, a Twitter, something of that nature. And they're somehow in the poker world somehow. Sometimes they're more well known than others. Sometimes they're a little bit on the fringes. Sometimes they're known in that little country, but not known everywhere else. And I do this bad habit, Dan, where we talk a lot. We do some FaceTime and we do some Skyping. There may be some pictures sent back. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how it goes. Just sometimes things happen. And I spend way too much time. I invest way too much time and energy in these conversations. Then the time comes for the in call, the out call to be made. So you gotta pull a Drake, you gotta pull a Dan Smith, you gotta fly into the city you're in, or you gotta make that long trek over to Europe. And
you always want them to come to you. We're busy international businessmen, you know.
Listen, man, entrepreneur life's tough, man. I agree. You only do in calls, you don't do out calls, and I am 100% on board with that. But I may have burned some bridges with a couple, one maybe Swedish girl, maybe one Polish girl, maybe one English. I don't know, man. I'm out of line. Put it like that. But that's the one I'm going to tell. I just thought a couple
people in that you've never met before. Like, this is not a move I have in my arsenal.
Are you serious?
Flying somebody into your city that you don't know, like
you know them from the. You know him from the phone. You FaceTime. You never done that?
If I am meeting up with somebody who I don't know, my first date is always like, hey, let's grab a drink at a local bar, you know? That's how you can both make sure that the other person isn't gonna murder you or whatever fucked up shit. Like,
listen, Dan, no gamble, no gamble, no. If you got to gamble sometimes, man, for the FGG grind, right? I mean, you can't go on the foreign girl grind. You can't go on the foreign girl grind and not sometimes gamble.
Huh?
Let me tell you one more story, Dan. I'll give you I'll give you a tangible story. So I was living in Vancouver, and there's this girl who is debatably well known down in the South Florida. Okay, she plays poker there, and that's going to narrow it down a lot. But so I met her in South Florida, and it was right after my Supernova Elite grind. So I got Supernova Elite. I was playing high stakes. I was winning a bunch of money, and I was feeling good. I decided, hey, I can take a break from grinding. So okay. So this girl, she comes to visit Vancouver. Shout out to Vancouver. Shout out to the place I lived in. And when she comes there, Dan, she says, I want to go play live poker at the Edgewater Casino. I said, okay, go. She said, but I need some money. What do you do in that spot, Dan? She wants you to stake you. This ain't a winning player, by the way. So what would you do in that spot? You know that your money, you're literally throwing the money out, Dan. What do you do in that spot?
I don't combine those worlds, I mean, if we were talking like $100 to shoot dice, that'd be one thing, but like trying to play poker, it just seems like not something I'd want to be involved with.
Yeah, Dan. I said, not going to be able to do it. I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. There was a little bit of a confrontation, and had to send her packing pretty quick, send her back to Shower City. So now I'm not saying I just wanted to give you a story because you gave me a story about that. I wanted to give you a story back, but you can read that in my book coming out next month at the end of January, where I got to write a 40,000 word book. It's going to be about some of my adventures out there in the world. So, but yeah, Dan, that's one. Was she an alleged doctor? No, she ain't a fucking doctor. She ain't Dr. Jack. Come on, calm down, man. It ain't Dr. Jack. Come on, calm down. But yeah, Dan, that's one I got for you, man. You got one more for us? Crazy story happened to you recently? It's an hour in now. All the feminists turned the podcast off anyway, so we can kind of.
I don't think any feminist, I don't think we're saying anything that feminists would be opposed to.
You never know, Dan. You never know.
Okay, I'll share a story that I probably shouldn't.
I knew me sharing an actual story would get this to happen, by the way. So that's why I decided to share that one. Go ahead.
I met this girl over the summer.
Oh boy.
I think you kind of fished it by using too many details. So I'm trying to be cryptic enough that.
Dan.
Okay.
That was GTO. I know there was a purpose behind that story I just told.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for doubting you. Maybe
that's called a reconnection, baby. Shout out to her, man. She hears this. I know she wants to podcast. Hit me up, man. I'm ready to stake you now. I feel like you got it in you, man. I'm ready to. That's called GTO.
I met this girl over the summer. When I was back in town for some of the ARIA tournaments, I hit her up, and it was just. She didn't get back to me one night, and the next night she messages me back, hey, what are you doing? Fake name. Let's just say Bill. Bill just went to sleep, so there won't be any drama. And I'm like, whoa, one, who's Bill? And if someone's saying there's no drama,
there's always drama.
Drama.
No one mentions the word drama without there being drama close by.
Yeah. Those are the kind of situations that I keep finding myself in the most.
Okay, Dan, I'm gonna give you a great piece of advice here.
Okay.
Married girl grind, off limits. Boyfriend girl grind, no matter how bad the situation she alleges that it is, off limits. It's just off limits, man. You don't ask him for trouble. Single, yeah, you don't like divorce girl grind, DGG. That one's okay, but yeah, man, those two aren't smart, man.
I try to live my life in a way where I have very little drama, so I generally agree with you, but I would also say some rules are meant to be broken sometimes, There's no 100% rule.
So what happened with Bill? What happened?
So I was hanging out with some friends while I got this text, and it was just, then a debate went down whether Bill was a boyfriend. My read just went to bed, so no drama. I was thinking Bill was her son.
Hmm.
Everyone told me I was an idiot, and then we ended up
Gotta
betting.
be optimistic, Dan. You gotta be optimistic.
People told me there was no chance, so we ended up betting at 3-1. I had baby versus boyfriend, and then when I inquired about it, she said it was just the roommate. So I think I lucked out with when I should have. I probably I think I probably lucked out. You know.
People in the chat speculating, was Bill Perkins by any chance?
No, I said I'm going to use a fake name.
Oh, okay. Not Bill Perkins. Okay. Okay.
Also, I'm going to clarify, I don't know who the fake name, I don't know who it was, so it was a shock. Like when I messaged this girl that I went out with a little bit.
Dan, there's a lot of details missing in this story, I feel like, Poppy.
I mean, feel free to ask. I might not answer, but.
I think we got a better question in the chat. Does the necklace get caught up in his chest hair and cause discomfort very often? I kind of question. I actually want to know that too, because mine doesn't. I don't have chest hair for some odd reason, but I know you're a hairy man over there.
New Jersey, yeah. It only bothers me when I am doing yoga, and then for that time I take it off. The rest of the time, like, I don't know that I'm wearing it. This chain belonged to my dad, and I just wear it, so I always wear it as like a remembrance.
Nice. Shout out to your dad, man.
Yeah, that's my dad. I really like. Sometimes I wish he was around a little bit longer. My dad was kind of I found out that my dad was a wild man. He loved gambling. He would play cards all night. He would bet sports. It would have been so incredible if he could see that I am like doing it at a very high level, you know?
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Had some Vegas night. I'd have to be there for some of those. Like, I don't know. Those nights to be out of line, they sound like, man.
Yeah. I ended up, someone reached out to me, or rather, I saw that there was an article written about me in the Houston Chronicle.
I saw this one too.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's wild that my dad's childhood best friend saw me on ESPN, wrote an article, and I ended up reaching out to him. I saw him twice in the last 2 years just to grab some food and share some stories. And there were some fucking crazy stories about my dad.
You got one for us?
Well, my dad just kept getting evicted from apartments when he was like just out of college. Like he would throw like big barbecues where he'd like grill ribs inside, that kind of thing. His apartment was always where the all-night poker game was going on. And there was one time when Kenny, my dad's friend, they had this third roommate, and they did not like this roommate, and they were like, yo, how are we going to get rid of this guy? They had a puppy at the time, so the guy left town for the weekend. My dad would just put the dog in the third dude's room every time he had to use the bathroom. So when the guy came back, his room was covered in shit. So the guy got the hint, and he just fucking dipped.
Dad sounds out of line. Yeah. Sounds like he was living. He was living, man.
Yeah.
You said you connected with the guy who ended up writing the article too?
Yeah. We went out. I got to hear some stories like that. It was cool. Oh, and it was also around the time that the Bilzerian bike bet was going down, and I made a moderately large bet on Dan to complete it. So he was also someone who was biking, so I got to like, hey man, do you think I should bet on this? You bike, and he originally thought that the dude had no chance, but I was able to convince him that with training, Bilzerian would be able to get it done.
You bet on these side bets. You had the MMA fight, the boxing match happened. Did you bet? Were you bettors in these situations?
I bet quite large on all of these things. One, like I said, I like to gamble, and my theory is that if I could bet on something vig free and there's like a major event going on, I should be able to like make an opinion that's neutral or better, you know? So like for the election, I bet a moderate amount, and someone asked about this on Twitter. I bet 40,000 on Hillary to win the election. My reason for that, well, first of all, I was just like, of course Hillary's going to win. Trump is a bozo. Like, how can this get down? Like, but then I was like, you know what? I want to get a bet down, and I waited for when she fainted. She went from like a 5-1 favorite to a 2-1 favorite, and I thought the market was just overreacting to like some noise. So I ended up using that opportunity to fire, and the market did at least move back, so I could have arbed out, but I wanted the position. I wanted to have the Hillary sweat, and unfortunately for America, it didn't work out.
You had a sweat, all right. I believe you and your buddy J-Mo may have been on the same side of that thing. So
yeah, I think there's some rumors that I bet really big. I bet 40 to win 20. So it was nothing too crazy.
There's definitely a rumor that you bet really big on that, by the way. Someone asked me about that. They said I should bring it up when you're on the podcast. So there's definitely a rumor that you bet really big on that. So
I've had a lot of people like eyeballing me, like asking how much I bet. I think people were assuming I tried to bet a lot more on Hillary on election day. There was a point when the line had only moved to like a 5-1 favorite, and I was under the impression that she was like a huge favorite in Florida, and I would have, at that point, I thought 5-1 was free money, and I would have bet 100K on her. And I posted on Twitter like, hey, I'm trying to bet, and then maybe an hour later, Trump was a 3-1 favorite, or 2 hours later. It was crazy.
I've been paying attention. I listen to this one podcast when I go to sleep called Keeping It 1600 on the Ringer, and that's how I've learned all about. I watched CNN on election night. That's it. But now I know way too much about the political scene, and now I've been researching it for legalization for poker and DFS purposes as well too, and I'm learning more about it. And it's kind of interesting on one hand, but on the other hand, it seems like it's a lot of wasted energy paying attention to a lot of this stuff. But I don't know. I feel like, okay, so it seems like people spend so much time debating it. They spend so much time having these super strong opinions on it one way or the other. And it doesn't seem like a lot of that energy people that put into it really is going to make a difference either way in terms of what actually happens. Now, what do you think about that? You think that's actually not true? Or do you think that people can have a bigger impact than they might think?
I think if somebody found it like unpleasant to read and hear about, and they were just like, you know what, I'm just going to mostly abstain from the political system, I don't think they're missing out. I am very interested in how things work, and it was one of those things where I just kind of wanted to have like an informed opinion. I have hopes that in the future I'm going to be able to make some big changes in the world, and I think having some idea of how things work would be relevant, and just taking like a step back, it is fucking crazy that Trump was able to, like, the things he was saying and doing were just so out of line, and just like, this guy's in the running to be president. Like, if the world was a TV show, I would have stopped watching. If this was House of Cards, I would have stopped watching because I'm like, there's no way this fucking bozo is gonna make it so far. And he won. 40% of the US thinks the world's 10,000 years old. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild what Americans love. I mean, you look at what Americans love, you look at what's popular, the TV shows out there that are popular. It's not like people like the mindless entertainment. They love the Kardashian sort of stuff. I mean, obviously not. I mean, I don't know a lot of people love the Kardashians. I guess actually I kind of do, which is a little weird. But I mean, they love it, man. They love the loud people. They love the crazy people, man. They like those people, man. That's what they find entertaining. They don't got to think too much. They can just sit back, take it in, and yeah.
It's just crazy to me that the fact that 40% of people have this belief, which is just kind of, I mean, it's not kind of, it's just blatantly wrong. And because of that, they're shaping like the route our country goes in. I think it is a big issue, and I don't really know if if people just choose to believe these random like bullshit articles they read on Facebook, you know, I don't. The world's a fucked up place right now. I'm worried about the future, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole fake news article thing out there, the fake news and how much money it's generating for a lot of people out there, I believe Facebook specifically has cracked down on it, but I don't think that trend of fake news is going to go away, especially when you look at how much money you can make from creating this fake news and these.
How are you making money?
These guys are crushing, man. I've done a little bit of research into it because I was kind of fascinated by how it all worked, and yeah, just from the ad. Actually, I'm curious exactly how they are making some money too. I don't know if it's direct ads from the site. Obviously, people have ad blockers, but I guess I need to learn a bit more how they are making money. But yeah, some of the people during the election who had big audiences on Facebook and big Facebook pages would send people to their actual website. And I mean, yeah, it's a good point. I don't know if it was strictly advertisements, but I don't know how else they would have really been making money. So I guess it would have had to have been.
The way that certain people are able to make money is just so crazy to me, you know, like, and I said earlier before, like that I think it's certainly possible and maybe even likely that gambling is a net negative on society. But if your job is to provide people false information, like, do the people making the articles like think it's bullshit and just like this dumb shit is what's going to sell, or do they think like, okay, I have to share this important news that I'm finding out with other people, you know?
From what I've seen, they know that they're doing it because it's they know it's fake going in there. They're trying to come up with the most sensationalist type of stuff. What are you reading over there? You got something over there.
I was really impressed with all of the questions from the chat, and I was curious whether you were just hiding the haters from me, so I decided to pull it up myself.
I mean, you know, we got a couple guys in there saying some crazy shit all the time, but
Man,
chat's good, man. Listen, you know what, Dan? We're similar to North Korea around here, man. They call me Kim Jong Joey because I like to ban motherfuckers from the chat, man. If they say they get out of line.
I have been very I don't engage with like random people on the internet anymore, but I have been thoroughly impressed with like the questions people are asking, people coming up with smart takes. Someone tweeted at me a link about universal basic income, showing stats about what people do. But are there more chat questions? I'm enjoying this.
I mean, there's always a lot of chat. You can't ask all the questions they get in the chat because you get so many. What if I started a fake poker news site?
What do you mean?
What if I just start writing out fake poker news articles?
And like article 1, just Dan Smith challenges Doug heads up for rolls. Dan won 25 buy-ins playing 25-50 on American sites. Spanked him. Like just making shit up. Is that what you mean, or?
Yeah. William Kassouf, big day today at the high stakes PLO tables. Well, I guess you could try to make them in a way that's believable too.
Honestly, if I would click that link, I'd be like, huh, I wonder what stakes he was playing. I want to see some hands.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Real fake news. No, I'm kidding. Guys, let me get a couple more questions for Dan in the chat here. And let's see what people say. Adam Clark said,
am I giving up on nubbing? I'm just going to show this bobblehead real quick. This was what Steve Silverman gave me for being in his, not bachelor.
Oh, right. Allegedly, this is you, correct?
What do you mean allegedly? You don't think it looks like me? Even got the facial.
I don't know the facial hair. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen you without facial hair, dude.
Oh no, it has a shadow, which it's.
Guys in the chat, what do you guys think? Give me one.
Of course, this looks like me.
Like Dan.
Chat, just realize I've been talking you up, and if you guys say this doesn't look like me, like all of the respect that you've been working on the last 2 hours is going to go to shit. But say whatever you want. It's an open mic.
Yeah. I don't know about that. It looks like him. Okay.
They are both ugly as fuck.
Okay.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler. Much love, Tyler. Much love. Much love. Mix
What
of
was my
Jimmy
last
and Dan.
regular job? I have never had a job. Well, when I was 16, what I really wanted to be doing was playing online. Actually, I was 15, but my mom made me sign up to be a camp counselor. So I made $600 for the summer at like $1 an hour, and that's the only formal job I've ever had.
It does look like Jared Fogle. I knew it looked like somebody I recognized. I just couldn't think of the name. Yeah, that's who it looks like. Jared. Okay, perfect. Perfect. NM Grinder. Does Dan read or recommend any poker books?
Mathematics of Poker. I haven't read it in a couple of years, but I assume it stands the test of time. I would say generally, like, books just get outdated too quickly, you know? You should just get a run at once account. If it's something that you're at all serious about. I think there is a shortage of good books out there. But if you're numbers oriented, Mathematics of Poker, I think did a lot of good for me.
Harb says, what is his thoughts on the Mike Dentale versus Kate Hall situation?
I would have expected Kate to have handled this a little bit better. I think it's been a little bit entertaining in small doses. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch your pod with him. I'm sorry. I like that there was.
Let me tell you. I kind of liked him. I don't know, man. He like crazy, like says some. But I like. To be fair, I like everybody. I don't necessarily agree with the things that he's saying about Kate. I like Kate a lot. I don't agree with some of his stances on different things he talked about. But like, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm like, I don't hate him, but I guess I don't really hate anybody. I got kind of one person, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of fun of him. I enjoyed having him on, man. It was a funny podcast. Like I was laughing a lot during a lot of it. It was a fun podcast.
If they played, I would probably watch a little bit. I would really like to see. I would love to be at a table where they were seated, like next to each other. I would hope that they would at least keep up and like the arguing, you know. But maybe I don't know if they were just like both very quiet. I don't know. They're not playing that big.
Bang bang.
I don't even think they're. I don't know. I don't mean it as like bang bang. They're playing like a 10K sit and go. You know, like. I don't know very much about either of their poker games. Kate got third in the 5K that I won a couple weeks ago at the Bellagio. Quick brag. I was impressed with how she played. And she certainly, like, no disrespect, but I just assume that anyone who's been playing poker for 2 years and never played online, I thought there would be some glaring weaknesses that she was making, but she seemed to play pretty well. I'm not that interested in the feud, but I guess also, like, we went through the heads up for rolls phase of our poker career, you know? Like, I've had a few of those challenges, and then eventually you kind of realize that people stop putting their money on the line, so it's like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
If I was in Kate's shoes, I would have just been like, hey, if you want to play, we have to escrow money. Your boys with Matt Glantz, send him $20K so that we're both going to play for this. We'll have a $5K penalty if somebody backs out. But it seems like they have a date, maybe.
March, I believe.
March is a long way away.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We're going to be having Kate on the podcast sometime over the next couple weeks, and we're gonna get her view on the situation. And yeah, I'm curious to see what's happening with that and what she's got to say about that. So I think that'll be interesting to hear more about.
Someone asked if I still play chess. I am proud to announce that there is the Pro Chess League, which is that has recently been announced. I am going to be on the Montclair Sopranos. So I've been playing a little bit online.
What is like the GPL for chess? What is this?
I'm going to say it's like the GPL for chess, but it seems to make a little bit more sense.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, that was a little bit bang bang. I didn't participate in the GPL because I wasn't sold in the idea.
Bang, bang.
Also, I didn't want to be committed to playing poker for no money, you know? I don't want to like have people see me on stream. Like, you see someone make a play, and that's just like information that you have next time. So I wasn't, but anyway. So it is kind of like,
were you feverishly studying over the GPL tapes and trying to get reads on your fellow opponents who you play the high rollers with?
no.
Hmm.
You know what? That's a fair point. I just didn't think it'd be that fun. Playing poker for no money. I was pretty busy at the time. I didn't like that the schedule wasn't announced like early enough that I didn't want to be committing to playoffs in the fall when I was going to be playing NFL DFS.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few projects that I'm working on. And I just didn't think the GPL would be a way that I especially wanted to spend time. But the Pro Chess League, I think it makes more sense for people to play chess because whether you're playing for anything or not, you could still try your hardest. And for me, they have some of the best players in the world, including world champion Magnus Carlsen, world number 2 Fabio Caruana.
Wait. The Magnus Carlsen guy's in the fucking league?
He's in the league.
How did I beat that guy, man?
The way the format is, all 4 players on your team play all 4 players on the other team, you know? So you go through. You play 1 game versus each. So I have the opportunity, if I get, like the team is 10 guys, 4 guys play, it's an average rating under 2,500, which is one thing I think they're doing a lot better than the GPL because they're like, something I was considering for the GPL is if we're in the finals, I'm going to want to play the entire time, you know? Like, you know, I'm not going to bang anyone in the league. But it's just like, if it's actually something we want to win, I feel like, of course, I should be out there. And they have a system where in chess, everyone has a rating. My rating was like 2150. So the combine has to be all 4 averaging under 2,500. So you can go like some super bosses and lower, or you can go like 4 2,500s.
What's the Magnus? What's his rating?
His rating is 2,800 or something. If I played Magnus, I think I would be like 300 to 1 to score a draw, and I might even be like way less than that. Like I might just be completely. I probably am just utterly drawing stone dead, but it would be unbelievably cool to get to play the world champion.
Well, technically, he's got an app out there called Play Magnus, where you can play him on his app. You can play him at all ages. You can play him at like 3 up to whatever it is.
I don't find it fun to play a computer, you know? I like the idea that I am battling wits against another human and we're both playing our best. Like, and I don't know. I don't find it that satisfying.
So Greg Shahade, who's Jen Shahade's brother, used to be an old poker player and a training video coach. Curtains, I believe my juice is cracked. He's the founder of the U.S. Chess League. Then
it's Pro Chess League. Right. Oh yeah, actually, it is the U.S. Chess League. It's expanded. He is the founder. When I was an up and coming poker player, I was like 14 years old. There was a tournament in New York City, a chess tournament, the New York Masters. And they had a $25 contest where if you win the 3rd round, guess who's going to win and in how many moves you could win $25. So I twice I won the contest, getting $25 boost to like my $100 bankroll.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's why you did the job?
Whoa. Yeah. I had quite a bit of success at poker while I was still in high school. When I was maybe, I forget if I was 16 or 17.
You were 18, I believe, Dan.
When I was an 18-year-old, of course, I had consecutive $30,000 months playing 3-6 on PokerStars.
Nice.
Yeah, it was sick. I stopped doing my homework like when that happened, just to be like, yeah, I don't have time for chemistry. I'm not going to be a chemist.
Not going to be able to study. That's for sure, man. Listen, you give me a fucking $500 when I'm 18 years old in high school, man. I don't know. I'm not going to be. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. Calm down, Harbs. I agree. Guys, let's take a couple more questions from the chat, and we'll probably wrap things up here in a little bit. Just a reminder, Thursday.
I'm going to take 30 seconds to run to the bathroom.
You take it. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to get a couple shout outs, man. Who we got out there, man? My buddy Marco All In, Puppy Harbs. This will probably be a good time. We got a Thursday. Just a reminder here. We got Thursday. We got William Kassouf coming back on the podcast. Mr. The Negotiator will be on. We're going to have Friday, Randy Bloomer. Randy is the founder of the first ever real money poker online site, Planet Poker, back in 1998. This guy is the reason that we may be here and maybe here listening to this podcast right now. We'll be on the podcast Friday. He seems like a boss. So that's going to be sick. We're also going to have Team Perkins, a couple of the qualifiers from Bill Perkins' PCA trip. Be on a podcast as well. And high stakes Norman Hold'em player on Poker Stars Limitless. Kate Hall, Kevin Martin. Fuck, I got a lot to schedule, man. Holy moly. All right, let me get some shout outs, man. Jacob Stoneman. What's up, Poppy? Najum Nahu Karamo He Debo He Sebote. Ricardo Sandoval. What's up, brother? Felipe Young Papi. Preetin Bakat. What's up? Daniel Engels. Roll on table 88. Shout out to Palmer. What's up, Palmer Papi? Papi in the palm. Sniff a line. I don't think Dan's sniffing a line. That's some crazy allegations right there. Guy C7. Andrew Lawler playing God. We got all the guys out here, man. Much love, guys. Much love, man. Chad Holsey asking the same fucking question over and over again. Got a lot of love for the persistence, my friend. Much love to you, man. Shout out to all the weirdos. Shout out to all the stalkers. Shout out to all the people watching in silent out there, man. I got a lot of love for everybody out there that tunes in live, that watch these back on replay. And yeah. Colin says, Joey, do a podcast on you. Heard you say you lost $150,000 in the Stars Are Problems podcast. I want to hear more about your poker stuff. Listen, Colin, I know a lot of you guys just found poker like a year ago, but you got to go back and do the research on that, man. We got the blog out there. We got some other older videos out there on YouTube. Got to go back and check it out. Dan, what's up? You back?
I'm back.
People made some allegations while you were gone.
Oh, let's hear them.
Thought you might be doing some drugs.
Doing what drugs would I be doing?
Cocaine.
I'm not really a cocaine guy.
There you go. There's your answer, chat. That's it. Shout out to me still trying to help. All right, give me 2 more questions, chat. What else you got planned here, Dan? What's the plans here, man? We got December 27th, a couple of days, New Year's Eve, for me back in San Diego, keeping a nice, chill country music night with Marcus. I'm sure that's going to turn out well. What do you got planned after that?
I have a very exciting and busy period, like 6 months planned, actually. Early January, I'm renting a place in Tahoe.
Where?
Tahoe. I want to become
Tahoe.
a snowboarder, so I'm spending a month there. And then in the spring, I have a trip where I'm going to do Macau, Tokyo, Monaco, and either Vancouver or Toronto for Scoop, and then gearing up for the Super High Roller Bowl in the World Series. But I'm really pumped to go snowboarding. I've been like 8 times, and I want to go from like a very mediocre snowboarder to like actually a good boarder.
You got to hit up Tahoe Dan for that, man.
He and I are sharing a place together.
You got a place with Tahoe Dan?
Me and Tahoe Dan.
Oh, man, y'all going to get in some trouble, man. Mr. LKS himself. Mr. LKS, Dan O'Brien, will be there, huh?
What is LKS?
You got to ask him, man. He's the LKS. Listen, man.
Okay.
You got to ask him about that.
It never actually goes that way, but he and I are talking about how we're going to have like clean living. We're going to work on our diets. We're going to take off from booze and from weed.
Not going to be able to do it. Come on, Dan. Let's go. No. Where do I bet? I'm all in. Where's the cards at, man? Where's the Dan, on that allegation you just made? I'm saying something right now. Dan, I'm the ace of spades, man. No fucking chance, baby. I'm all in on the other side. Ace of spades, man. No way. Come on, come on, man.
I'm not prepared to bet against you because if some cool shit were to go down, I'm not like opposed to it. I'm just envisioning.
I'm all in, Dan. Where do I bet? I want to bet here.
I do go like really get after it partying sometimes, but I also go through periods where I'm just like before the World Series every year, I have one sober month where I like gear up and I'm like playing poker, I'm studying, basically getting my life back in order to recover from like the degeneracy that happens like in March and April.
I like it, man. I like it. I don't know what's. Guys. I don't mind my hair today. I'm just trying to keep it out of my face. One of the last questions, Bunny. Shout out to Bunny, man. One of my BGGs. What's up, BGG girl? What's up, baby? Dan, what are your New Year's resolutions? You too, Poppy. What are your New Year's resolutions? Dan, you got some New Year's resolutions for yourself, my friend.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Generally, I would like to.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm not sure how open I was going to be about some of these things. Generally, I would like to read more, and I think I would like to control some of my party urges. Like I'd go through. I had like 3 different 7 to 10 day benders this year, that's a lot, you know. And I'm not saying I want to have 0 this year, but maybe I'll keep it to like 1. Really.
What's happening on these benders, Dan? You people out there who haven't had a 7-10 day bender. What is this, drinking bender? What's going on these benders? Allegedly, what's happening on these benders? What happens on people that you know have 7 to 10 day benders?
I would just wake up. I mean, it was just we were going out every night. Of course, like you're not working out or eating healthy because like when you're drinking 10 beers a day, you know, like who gives a fuck about macros, you know?
True.
I had right after the 1 drop, obviously there was some partying going on. So I did 1 drop to bachelor party in Banff. And in Banff, it was supposed to be like a clean bachelor party. So it was all these like fun outdoor hiking type activities during the day. And then at nighttime, I would party like an animal. So it was Vegas, Banff, and then I went to outside lands back to back to back. And after like 10 days of this, my body just shut down. And I was like, I got to get my life back in order.
So Alexander Chat says, got to say, if you have to constantly talk about how much you party, you probably don't that much. And I got to tell you, Alexander, maybe sometimes that might be true. I actually don't think that applies to partying, but I got to tell you right now, I'm telling you that we're not in a situation like that right now. This is not a.
These are my receipts. Joey knows.
This ain't a. I'm just telling you. I would tell you if there was some. If I needed to see receipts, I'd ask for. I've seen plenty. Like, trust me, man. I mean, I don't like. You know, I don't. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I agree. When you sense deceit, you shall ask for the receipt. I agree. But you know, what are my New Year's resolutions? I'm thinking about that for a second. My New Year's resolutions are to keep putting out some great fucking podcasts for the poker community to enjoy, to make sure I keep working hard at my diet and my workouts, which are going well, and to find love in a hopeless place, Dan. That's my New Year's resolution.
Beautiful.
Find love in a hopeless place.
Find
that special someone, Dan.
That's the dream.
That's the dream for sure. That's the dream. My big New Year's resolution is to expose more people in the world to the great game of Pot Limit Omaha. That is one of my biggest goals, of course.
I've been meaning to ask you. Like, obviously, you're looking great. What kind of workout routine have you been up to?
What do you mean? I guess it changes every month. So my trainer, Mike Vacanti, podcast guest, shout out to Mike Vacanti. He sends me a new workout every month. And it's a lot of stuff back to back. So right now it was 2 days legs, 2 days of upper body sort of combinations. What do you say?
So you do legs 2 days in a row?
No, it's this one's 4 days a week. So 2 days have a bunch of different leg stuff. Here, I'll just read you one of my workouts.
Okay, I'm very interested.
I'll read you what some of this week's are right now. So So this one would be workout 1 is Bulgarian split squat with a 2-second pause at the bottom, 3 sets of 5 on each leg with 2 minutes in between. And then 3 sets of lateral lunges with 90-second breaks, and then perform 3 wall sits in between. And then, you know what a wall sit is?
Yeah, they're hard.
I'm sorry, not a wall sit, a wall slide. I'm sorry, it's like a stretch, a wall slide. It's like you go against the wall, you put your arms like this, you kind of go up like this.
Yeah.
And then we have goblet squat with a 1-second pause at the bottom, which is pretty easy, right into the elbows on a bench, on the flat bench T-spine extension, which is kind of just a breathing sort of opens up your body a little bit there. And then this one's the hardest one, which is hanging leg / knee raise with 60-second in between, and then push-ups. Aim for 60% of max reps each set. So I usually go about like 35 or 40 on that one, depending on how much energy I have left. So that's one of the days. So it has a little bit of everybody in there. Do I ever do jump squats? I do jump squats a lot. I do a lot of wall sits as well. And yeah, my workouts are pretty on point. My diet could be better, Dan. That's probably my biggest thing. My diet, I could just eat more food.
Keto?
What?
Are you on the keto diet?
No.
Huh, I would have pegged you as
Dan, I had fucking pizza last night, okay? I had pizza last night, Dan. I don't know if that's on the keto diet, but yeah, my diet could be a little better. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
So
I've kind of given, like, the past 2 months, I really haven't touched any weights. I've just been doing yoga, but I kind of miss it. I have found that it gets boring, but I think it's really important to have the balance of a few different things.
That's why you set some goals for yourself, set some challenges, make some prop bets.
I think having well-defined goals is very important. If you know what it is you want, it's way easier to achieve them, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think some prop bets might be good for you, Dan. Maybe make some gambling bets.
I think that's a good idea. One of the things I plan to do in the new year is keep a good log of a bunch of things. Like, did I meditate that day? What kind of exercise did I do? Did I eat? Did I drink? Did I smoke weed? All of these things, and just try to have like a general idea of how my body felt and how happy I was, and see if maybe I come up with something like some useful data, you know?
I do that every day. I pretty much try to keep a pretty detailed log of exactly, because I do that with my GTO club guys. It makes you see exactly what you spend your time doing. And if you're the type of person who says I'm always busy, well, now you actually get to be accountable. Are you actually always busy? And I found with myself, that's why I did this challenge where I'm trying to basically grind 84 hours a week, is that I had a lot of free time where there was just this white spaces in between my day where I would just sit down, and 35 minutes later, 45 minutes later, I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd be on forum. I'd be, talking to someone who, maybe I could be better off my time not talking to that person. And then when you introduce Tinder and Bumble with the Fedor prop bet, I mean, you spend a lot of time doing a whole bunch of fucking nonsense. So
I understand. Dating is really fucking time consuming.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, it is. It can be. I mean, you can find some situations, especially a lot of women out there, it makes sense that you want to spend time talking to them. They want to spend a lot of time talking to you, and then they want to come over, hang out. They hang out, they stay for 6 hours. Maybe they spend the night, and it's just, yeah, it's certainly.
I think not only that, you got to be grinding Bumble and Tinder, and I guess you're using.
How many dates you need, bro? I mean, like, how many girls you want to go out with, though?
I don't really have an answer to that. But, and I don't know. I just think the more first and second dates you go on, the higher likelihood that you're going to meet somebody that's like really cool,
Yeah. I mean, I usually go on the first date with someone who I think's really cool. I try to, and then yeah, second date. I shot that. I can't. I'm not even getting into this, man. We got too many people watching this right now, man. Okay, a couple more questions from the chat. Then we're gonna wrap it up.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
So I feel like I'm on my phone too much, maybe like 10% of the messages I get are actually important, and a huge percent of them are just noise that but it ends up distracting me from what I'm trying to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be more GTO and not waste my time on my phone when it's just bullshit.
Couple things that you can definitely try. I mean, I think it's something that you have to work at every single day. And it's something that I've basically have been trying to cut out of my life. And I think what a big thing I do is I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So when it's not on Do Not Disturb, you don't get the messages popping up. So my big plan now is I just want to cut out spending time on my phone on the internet and on Twitter and on Facebook. So I'm not really on social media as much anymore, except for things that I'm doing. But I think it's just a habit of really just realize, like, you're self-aware that, hey, I'm spending a lot of time with these bullshit conversations. Well, let me actually try to work at that. And what does work at that to you mean? Does that mean just not going on your phone as much? Does that mean maybe telling some people, hey, maybe we'll stop talking a little bit less? Or, I mean, I guess that's a question you gotta ask yourself. What is that? Like, what do you think the first step would be?
I think having like designated periods where I'm just not on my phone would be good. I've considered getting like a second phone that's like the VIP line, so the important people could reach me all the time, and the other people, I'm on my phone between like 10 and 11 a.m. and like 8 and 9 p.m.
Right.
But I just don't think it's that practical, you know? And then I've actually experimented with the two phone theory, and then I just have two fucking phones that I'm checking, you know? It backfires.
I think you just need to kind of reevaluate the importance of a lot of the people in your life and the conversations that you have, and sort of start getting rid of some of the ones that you don't find value from, and keeping them more as acquaintances rather than people that you spend actual time in your day conversating with. So
I think that's a great idea, but it's hard, you know? Someone messages you, you can't just be like, yo, dog, too busy for you. Stop messaging.
I don't think it's necessarily that. I mean, you can't. I mean, I don't know. I have like 175 unresponded to kind of things in different places. So I guess I don't know. What can you say really? So we do got a friend in the chat, Dan, a guy who you mentioned earlier in chat. Doug Polk's in the chat. He said, "What's up?" Say, heard shots were being fired in here, man.
Hello, Douglas. I was responding to the fact that you were calling out my tournament game, and I thought it was weak that you were talking to your YouTube minions rather than coming to me directly. I would have loved to have bet as big as possible on myself. And I think taking those shots when you've just been playing the micro stakes online, like, is kind of weak.
Doug said, is he trying to hide behind Sauce again?
No, I would have loved to bet on myself. Or if you're in town this week for the Aria tournaments, let's go.
I believe he actually is in town in Vegas right now.
Do you want to just like lock in like a 25% crossbook in the 25K?
Fair question. Maybe we'll see. I guess in that situation, what do you think about in that situation where how much can you actually tell from that?
I'm sorry, I was trying to read the check. And
okay.
Can you repeat what you just said?
So how much do you actually, I guess that's just pure, I mean, how much do you really gauge from cross-booking one tournament like that though?
Oh, in terms of the results, it's almost entirely irrelevant. But I thought we were out here waving our dicks around, you know? We like to gamble. It's the end of the year, so tax-wise it makes sense. He's the one who came out looking for it, you know?
It's true. He says, hey, Dan, do you know what a joke looks like?
I've made some jokes in my day as well, pal. I don't know. And I didn't mean to be... I was just under the impression that you were... like, that you thought I was a very bad player, and if that were the case, you should seem to want to try to put your money where your mouth is, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, I didn't expect the conversation. We got Doug in the chat, stopping in the chat, man.
I would think a 25% casual crossbook isn't like super big, but if those stakes aren't agreeable, I'm sure we could sort something out.
Seems in line. Yeah, Doug said, Dan, I think Dan is upset about a WQ betting video where I made a joke.
Yeah, I thought you. I felt like you were giving me the Jason Mercier treatment, and I'm a sensitive guy. My feelings were kind of hurt, and it's just like, you know what? If you're gonna make those jokes, I think like I could say what I want as well. I mean,
yeah, it should be that way, right? If someone says that, you said that. I mean, he said 25% X books on, baby.
Okay,
He said
cool.
we on, man. Hey, man, listen, man. This is what I like. People fucking making a challenge, people saying things, and then the challenge fucking happens, man. That's what I love, man. That's what I love right now, man. We get some challenges, we get something happen, and we get a fucking match, man. That's what I like to see. That's what I've ever sent Crossbook.
Okay, and let's just clarify that it's across. Oh, on the second day, I could only do on the first bullet because I might not be rebuying to go to San Diego.
What's that mean?
It's a rebuy tournament.
Okay.
On the second 25K, I might not rebuy because I have friends coming in the morning, so I might choose to drive in that night.
I'll let you guys maybe talk about this, figure this situation out, figure out what's happening, and I like it, man. I like it. We'll see what happens. It might be some big punishment. It might be a good New Year's Eve for you.
You mean a nice quiet New Year's Eve, me and Marcus sipping on our red wine while we eat steaks, right? Nice quiet?
No chance.
No chance, you're right.
No chance. No chance. No chance. So, I don't think so. Who else is going to be on New Year's Eve? Who else is going to be there?
Mike Watson is flying in with his girlfriend, Andrew Blugoel. I don't know if you know him.
I never met him in person, but yeah, I know of him though.
Awesome dude. The San Diego guys will be in town. My buddy James is flying in. Oh, Tony Dunst is making an appearance on his way to Australia. It's a good crew.
I like it, man. That'll be fun. Doug said, LOL, it's on. Let's X-book. Oh, yeah, actually might go to San Diego. Bang, bang.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Bang,
whoa.
bang. Bang, bang.
I'm just clarifying that it is on. On the second day, I'm only playing one bullet. I think that's pretty reasonable.
The second day is day 2? How does this work exactly? Is there 2 of the 2?
They are all separate one-day tournaments.
Oh, so there's a second tournament.
There's actually 3 tournaments. It's 25K, 25K, 100K.
Okay. So this is for both 25Ks then?
Both 25Ks.
Okay.
And I know this is absolutely crazy. One of my New Year's resolutions from this year, which I didn't do a great job about, was trying to be less driven by EV and just like live my life, you know. But like, you know how it is when there's a big poker game. I am leaving to Vegas the day of a 100K tournament to spend time with my friends in San Diego. It is very hard for me, and I'm proud of myself, and it's happening.
Don't know how I feel about that one, but
I will say it probably wouldn't have happened if I call Mike Watson Mad Dog, if you didn't know. If Mad Dog hadn't already booked his flight to San Diego, I don't think I would have had the discipline to skip it. But now that like the plans are locked in, it's like, okay, I'll play these 25Ks and then I'll head home.
yeah. Oh man, I don't even know what's happening here, man. We'll be staying tuned for the match. We'll be seeing the same match is going to happen here. The crossbook will go down either way. It's fun to see.
I would expect that it would. Like his bet against Jason was much higher stakes, you know, unless there was JMO's bet. But like they crossbooked 5% in a 300K tournament where first place is $5 million. You know, that's just way bigger. First place is only going to be like 400K.
It's not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Guys, we'll take one last question from the chat. Someone said I need to hire an interior decorator. Believe me, trust me, I want to hire an interior fucking decorator. I promise you. Promise you I want an interior decorator. I want to have one.
I need some new furniture in Vegas too. And I need a coffee table. And I just can't. The idea of going to buy a coffee table just seems fucking excruciating, you know?
Yeah, you seem really hate leaving your house, bro.
I do like leaving the house, but shopping, not really my thing.
It's fun. I'm telling you, it's fun. It's a good time. Get you out of the house. Get you doing something different. Get you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Get you seeing what else is out there in the world. Appreciating decorating your place. Getting new things for your place. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing.
I was thinking about hiring an interior decorator too, but
yeah. If you want, I can go. Doug's actually back. Doug's back there on the piano. I can get him here if you want to talk to him for a couple seconds.
Sure.
What's up, man? Heard you firing shots here, man.
Hey, man. I didn't want there to be any problems. You know, I was just running my mouth. I'm sorry. Whoa, Doug, easy.
What's up, man? You firing shots? Can't take a joke? Come on, man. Bazam! Just joking around, man. It's a joke, man. You want to crossbook with me, Doug Polk?
I guess so. I mean, for the 249 people and 249 people in this chat, it would be a shame if I looked silly, you know?
That's true, man. That's true. I'm in. Fuck it, man. Let's play. You want to play with the big dog? With Big Doug? Mr. Bazam? I'm ready to play.
Okay, Doug, we got a bet.
Let's go. Check me out on Facebook Live right now. I'm going to be talking more about the challenge, man. Facebook Live. Facebook.com/Doug Polk Poker, man. Bazam. I'm out. That's it. Doug, thanks for stopping by. He's nice to have Doug here. Nice to have him join you. Like you said, Facebook Live will be on there after this. If you're watching this back on, if you're watching this back later on, it's yeah. They hate my. I don't understand. Some people like the impression. Some people. Oh, I sound like I'm from Jersey. I don't know, man. I'm trying to work on the voice. I love the impressions. Listen, I know I suck at them, man. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to get better at impressions. Dan, you got an impression before we go?
I am very bad at impressions, but I promise for next time I'll have an Ike impression.
You got an Ike impression next time?
No. For next time I'm on the pod, I will have an Ike impression. But I've got nothing ready yet. Ike's a hard one, you know?
You know what? What I found is that you just try it. You just try something. You say something, man. You just put it out there. You say something, man. And if you're wrong, whatever, man. What's the worst that happens? You look like a fucking idiot, you know? I mean, I don't know. Well, they sent the Ike glasses. Hold on.
Well, the thing is, if I make an Ike impression and he wants the crossbook, then I'm in some big trouble.
Why is that?
Because it's Ike.
It's true.
I don't want to bet against Hollywood Haxton.
I don't want to bet against Hollywood Haxton either.
Yeah, he just seems... Doug seems like a guy you could beat, you know? But Hollywood Haxton...
I don't know about that, Doug. Debatably one of the best in the world at Nolan Hold'em. Heads up.
Yeah. I mean, it's just heads up in tournaments that I would say are pretty different.
Yeah. That's my Ike, man. Come on. Ain't. No? You don't see it? No? I mean, okay.
I don't see it.
All right, whatever, man. I don't know. I'm trying to put out there, man. Listen, man, I'm going to tell you what, Dan. In 3 years, my impression... What do you say?
Ike talks more slowly. It's like,
well, I don't know about that. Yeah. I haven't done the Ike impression in a while, guys. I don't want you all to berate me in the chat now. We're doing this live, so I'm trying to put myself out there. But I think in 3 years, my impression game is going to be lit.
I look forward to it.
I just hope so, man. I hope so. Guys, we got any last words, Dan? Any last words to say to the people?
If you enjoyed me on the podcast, I would appreciate if you would check out dansmithholla.com and consider donating to one of the 3 charities in my drive. We are about 100K away in donations from hitting 1 million. and I think would be really cool if like the community came together to hit it. So I would really appreciate, and if anyone is feeling sheepish, there's like no donation too small. I would appreciate the support. Also, chat, you guys were really on point. The questions were great. Oh, man.
What do you mean? Can I make a donation? Do you take a bank wire, hey Dan?
Why don't you just
bank? Dan Smith, holla, can I send you bank wire? I send you bank wire.
How about you send me to my Chili Poker account?
I don't know what that means. Well, I know you own Chili Poker, but hey.
Yeah, I actually don't really know what Chili Poker is, but yeah.
Well, guys, check it out, dansmithholla.com. And a Fedor impression? I don't know if I have a Fedor impression. Oh, I think I kind of have one. Hold on. I'll do a Fedor impression from the last podcast he was on. I just, you know, I think sometimes you win $10 million and you're just unhappy because you don't have all the right answers for yourself and for your life. And I think right now, I don't know, man. Listen, that was my first time out. I'm trying it. You got a Fedor impression before we go, Dan?
I don't really have an impression. I've played the way he like physically grabs his chips. Like I have some chips he has like he like moves in slow for them, you know.
That's what he does? I don't know. That's what he does. Okay.
My prediction, 2017, Fedor comes out of retirement.
My prediction, Fedor, 2017, will win $5 million and be involved in some sort of sexual scandal.
Wow, I like that take.
I think he's gonna listen, man. Kid's a stud, man. He's hot commodity. I feel like he's gonna get himself into some trouble this year.
There haven't been so many in poker.
I know, there really haven't. I think Fedor might get out of line with someone this year. That's what I got. That's it. You got a hot take for 2017?
No hot takes. There's no minimum donation, chat. I don't have any hot takes for us yet. I mean, how could we have predicted what was going to happen this year? You know, the last 2 years have been crazy. 2 years ago with Poker Stars going this route in the fall. This year with Trump, I can't begin to guess.
Yeah, who knows, man? Fedor and Kate Hall in 2017. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe. Man, I don't know. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. Much love. Thanks for all the comments, questions. Be back on Thursday. William Kassouf, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday. And I got the Kassouf picture up there. We're going to have a Kassouf off. Me versus William. I need to learn how to do this better. Dan, much love. Follow Dan on Twitter, Dan Smith Holla. Enjoy New Year's, my friend. Enjoy the crossbook. We'll be paying attention. Guys in the chat, much love. That's it. Make sure you like the video. If you liked it, if you hated it, tell me to go fuck myself. Tell me you fucking hated it, please. And subscribe if you don't. My coach says I got to ask these things. Much love to my coach. Thank you for helping me try to do things more GTO. That's it. Jonah.
Peace.
That's it. Adios, guys.